The 355th meeting of the Windham School District Board of Trustees is reconvened in accordance with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, the Open Meetings Act. And as a reminder to everyone, we have a quorum that is present, and this meeting is being conducted in person here at the Stella Hotel in Bryan, Texas, and is also being broadcast on the Texas Department of Criminal Justice YouTube channel. It is 1:45 p.m. I would now ask Windham School District Trustee Pastor Nate Sprinkle to offer a word of prayer as we start our meeting. Pastor Sprinkle.
Thank you, Chairman. Would you pray with me today? Heavenly Father, we come to you and we are grateful for this day. We're grateful for all who have safely traveled and gathered for this Windham School District Board of Trustees meeting here today. Before we enter into this meeting together, Father, our hearts go out to and just ask you for comfort and healing and protection for those who have endured the terrible floods on the China and Nepal border, the hundreds of lives that have been lost. Lord, we pray for those who have lost loved ones, lost homes, and otherwise. Lord, that you would just again offer your comfort, your healing, and your protection there. And as well, Lord, we consider those who are suffering loss in the fires that are burning in our own state here, and just pray that you will be with those who are combating those blazes and just meet and protect the needs of folks there. We do thank you for all the great work of the teachers, the administrators, administrative staff in the Windham School District, for the great work that they do day in and day out. I'm reminded that the Apostle Paul wrote to Timothy, the goal of our instruction is love, from a pure heart, a good conscience, and a sincere faith. Father, we know that the goal of the instruction of Windham School District is the rehabilitation of lives, and it comes from hearts of care and love and concern for the rehabilitation of the thousands of individual lives in our care. So, Lord, we pray that the goals of Windham School District will continue to be met and even grow through the great work of the Windham staff. Father, we pray that you guide us through this Windham School District trustee meeting, and we thank you for this time together. We pray this in your precious name, Lord Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Sprinkle. As a courtesy to speakers and guests in the meeting, we ask that you please set your electronic devices to the silent or vibrate mode. As always, we appreciate everyone being with us. I see in the audience we've got a number of valued guests and members of our Texas communities. And also we recognize all public officials and members of their staffs who are either with us here today or with us online. And so thank you all very much for attending, and we appreciate the contributions of all members of the public, as well as our legislators, in achieving the mission that Pastor Sprinkle was just mentioning. The Windham School District Board of Trustees is committed to providing an opportunity for public presentations on posted agenda topics, as well as public comments on issues within its jurisdiction, as provided in Board Rule 300.1. Persons interested in speaking at today's meeting were required to complete and submit a registration card at least 10 minutes prior to the meeting's posted start time. On our posted agenda topics, we had one speaker registration received by board staff prior to that deadline. So this registered speaker will be heard as the agenda topic on which the speaker registered is presented, and prior to the board taking action on that topic. And obviously, we fully anticipate that the individual who did sign up will be present when called upon, so that she will have the opportunity to speak on the topic on which she registered. Each speaker, or our speaker, one speaker today, will be allowed 3 minutes to make her presentation on that particular agenda item, and a red light on the timer in front of me will notify us all after those 3 minutes. So with that, let's begin with recognitions. So Windham School District's Department Director of Instruction, Ms. Luann Pickett, will be recognizing Jennifer Smock as the new Library Services Administrator. So Ms. Pickett, I see you coming up with Ms. Smock, and once you are ready and comfortable, please proceed.
Chairman Nichols, Vice Chairman General Welch, board members, and Superintendent Hartman. It is my pleasure today to introduce one of my team members. Ms. Jennifer Smock, recognized today for her recent selection as Windham School District's Library Services Administrator, began her career in education as an elementary teacher with Huntsville Independent School District before joining Windham as a teacher. Ms. Smock later returned to Huntsville ISD and spent 9 years as the Innovative Learning Specialist at Estella Stewart Elementary School within the library. In February of 2026, Ms. Smock returned to Windham as the Library Services Administrator. Since assuming this role, she has supported consistent access to literacy and educational resources across the district while introducing innovative ideas to enhance and modernize campus library services. Her efforts have helped expand resources and improve the overall library experience for patrons. Additionally, she has worked closely with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice on implementing the new book donation process. As Library Services Administrator, Ms. Smock is excited to share her passion for literacy with students and patrons, expanding opportunities for reading and learning while making a lasting impact across the state and inspiring as many readers as possible. In May 2026, Ms. Smock was named Best Librarian in Huntsville Item's Reader Choice Awards. The district is very proud of her accomplishment and grateful to have Ms. Smock on our Windham team. Ms. Smock earned a Bachelor of Science in Interdisciplinary Studies from Sam Houston State University, and she is certified as an early childhood through grade 4 educator. Inspired by the impact libraries have on individuals and communities, she returned to Sam Houston State University to earn a Master of Library Science degree and become a Texas Certified School Librarian. Outside of work, Ms. Smock enjoys spending time with her husband, daughter, and 3 dogs, listening to audiobooks and podcasts, volunteering with the Huntsville Junior Service League, and my favorite, shopping. She also enjoys supporting her daughter as she competes in swimming and participates in dance, as well as cheering on her nephew at baseball games. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Smock to the district and expressing our appreciation on the energy, innovation, and leadership she has brought to her role.
Ms. Mock, if you join us at the podium, we'd be delighted to hear some words from you on this new role.
Yes. Thank you for having me today. I have thoroughly enjoyed the several months that I've been with the district. Spreading literacy statewide has been amazing, and the great partnership now that we have with TDCJ with the chaplaincy donations. It's been an honor. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and let me just say that, and I know I speak for other members of the board, when we go to units, we always, I mean, am I right about this, board members? We always go to the libraries. And I'll tell on myself, I don't think I was always the best student when I was growing up, but I've grown to appreciate as I've gotten older, especially working with this system. I've really learned to appreciate the great work that librarians do in our system, and I've met so many fantastic librarians who are actively operating our library system within this, and not many people know this because maybe some people don't get a chance like we do to go to see the libraries, but to walk in those libraries and to see the level of organization, to include things like having a whole section of self-help books, having themes, having programs where individual members of the population can check out a book and then come back and take some type of a organized test or feedback on that particular book. And in addition to obviously upholding the honor of the Dewey Decimal System, and also just, especially in a day and age, which we've addressed before, where we've had to put restrictions on hardback books, to see all those hardback books that are in those libraries that are available to our population. But the main thing is to welcome you and to thank you for stepping forward. And we all know from our experience that this role is going to be extremely rewarding for you, and that you're going to be able to make great contributions to the effort. So thank you very much for being here and being with us here today.
Thank you.
All right, our next recognition will be presented by Windham School District's Division Director of Instruction, Mr. Kevin Sonic. Mr. Sonic, I see you coming to the podium, and I understand you will be recognizing Mr. Braden Maxwell for his recent promotion to Regional Principal. So, Mr. Sonic, when you're ready, please proceed.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Chairman Nichols, Superintendent Hartman, and members of the board. Mr. Braden Maxwell is recognized today for his June 26th promotion to Panhandle Regional Principal. Mr. Maxwell began his career in education as a middle school social studies teacher in Mathis Independent School District, where he developed a passion for serving at-risk students. During his time in the classroom, he also emerged as a leader in instructional technology, spearheading technology integration efforts at both the campus and district levels, and presenting at regional and statewide technology conferences. His success as an educator naturally led him into school leadership. After 5 years in the classroom, Mr. Maxwell transitioned into administration, serving as a high school assistant principal. Driven by his commitment to expanding educational opportunities for at-risk learners, Mr. Maxwell joined Windham School District in June 2023 and has since served as principal across multiple campuses. Throughout his tenure, he has worked to improve student outcomes, strengthen campus culture, and support educational programs across all learning environments. He was entrusted with the unique opportunity to help reopen the Garza East campus, where he led efforts to establish a strong instructional foundation, built a high-performing team, and created a student-centered culture. Under his leadership, the campus earned an A accountability rating following its reopening in the 24-25 school year, reflecting significant academic growth and a shared commitment to excellence. Through his leadership and dedication to student success, Mr. Maxwell has made a meaningful difference in the lives of countless students, staff, and our communities. Please join me in congratulating Mr. Maxwell on a well-deserved promotion and celebrating the positive impact he will continue to make in the Panhandle region.
Mr. Maxwell, if you'd join us and share a few words with us, we'd appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Board, thank you for the recognition. I'm grateful for the opportunity to work for Windham and to be a part of such a dedicated organization. I truly enjoy working alongside talented colleagues who are committed to making a difference every day. It is an honor to be a part of the Windham team. Thank you.
And Mr. Maxwell, you and I were just on a unit not too long ago, so
Yes,
and we've been watching your progress at Windham, and we really very much appreciate you stepping forward. So thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
The next agenda topic covers consent items, which are listed in the board's posted agenda. For excused absences, we will include an excused absence for Dr. Rodney Burrow from the June 19th, 2026 meeting. Are there any amendments, objections, or abstentions to the proposed consent items? Hearing none, the consent items posted for this meeting's agenda will stand approved. So you're going to have to forgive me as I'm getting used to my new technology. We'll talk about that more tomorrow. Our next item on the agenda is our report from the chairman. As everyone who attends our Windham School District Board of Trustees or Texas Board of Criminal Justice meetings knows. A central area of focus for our board is to support ongoing efforts at the agencies we oversee to modernize their workforce practices and workplace environments. This area of emphasis obviously includes full support of the responsible and cost-effective use of technology as part of the strategy to achieve these goals. And so today, I spotlight the recent efforts of Windham to modernize human resources operations as a whole, and specifically by enhancing the new employee experience through targeted onboarding and professional support. These improvements have been designed to increase efficiency, strengthen communication, and better equip Windham employees for success in their roles. The district has now invested in a fully electronic records management and applicant tracking system, making a significant step towards modernizing its HR operations. While the board understands that a comprehensive report will be presented to the board at a future meeting once implementation is complete, several key enhancements are worth highlighting at this time. For example, we understand that under the new system, all onboarding paperwork will be completed before a new employee arrives for new hire orientation. This includes tasks that we've all had to do when we started a new job, such as establishing direct deposit, selecting benefits, and completing required employment documentation. By streamlining these processes electronically, Windham is creating an onboarding system that is much more in keeping with the expectations of persons who grew up using computers and tablets, like I'm working on now, and smartphones and online job and career platforms. Instead of having to deal with cumbersome paper-based onboarding at orientation, employees will be able to focus on learning what they need to learn at their new hire orientation to become a contributing team member from day one of employment. Windham's electronic record system will also serve as a centralized employee profile for each staff member, important documents, including evaluations, tuition reimbursement records, and other employment-related information will be securely maintained within a single digital platform rather than relying on the old paper files. This will improve record accessibility, organization, and long-term document management. And I might say that this is very consistent with improvements that we will be talking about regarding our student population at tomorrow's Texas Board of Criminal Justice meeting. Another component of this initiative is the implementation of the applicant tracking system. Through this platform, applicants and hiring supervisors will each receive automatic notifications as candidates advance through each stage of the hiring process. These real-time updates will enhance communication, improve transparency, and create a more efficient experience for everyone. I've often heard in both the private world and on the TDCJ side that if you don't have a system that engages with prospective employees immediately upon application or indication of interest, you are behind the marketplace. If you as a potential employer are not being responsive to candidates promptly, you will lose them, especially in this modern time of a flood of electronic information available about job and career opportunities. And things have changed in terms of workforce expectations. Gone are the days of expecting good recruiting results from having applications or expressions of interest sit on a desk or in a cubicle for days or weeks. The modern workforce just doesn't work that way. and employers who are not recognizing that they are losing out on opportunities to hire the next great generation of employees. And to enhance that new employee experience further, the district is reimagining its new hire process to create a more effective and engaging onboarding experience. Historically, new employees from across the district have spent an entire week in Huntsville completing required security training and job-specific instruction before reporting to their campuses or departments. While valuable, this approach often resulted in participants receiving a large volume of information in a short period of time, what I like to refer to as trying to take a slow drink out of a fire hydrant, in the abstract and not in the context of their day-to-day activities as a Windham team member. To support this transition to this new platform, we understand that the Division of Instruction recently brought together regional specialists and coordinators for a 2-day workshop entitled Specialists and Coordinators Advancing Leadership and Excellence, or SCALE as an acronym. We've got to have an acronym, right? That's right. Across Texas. The workshop focused on team building, collaborative discussions, leadership development, and reinforcing the importance of service-centered support while coordinating a potential training structure for revised new hire processes. Participants examined the value of meaningful campus engagement, the importance of follow-through after campus visits, and the critical role they play in supporting educators and administrators. The board understands fully that regional specialists and coordinators serve as an essential connection between our many campuses and our district administration, providing guidance, resources, and ongoing support throughout the year. For example, academic and instructional technology specialists introduce new technologies in the classroom while providing continued training and coaching for our teachers. College and career readiness coordinators support student advisors in helping students access post-secondary opportunities while also assisting with criminal history evaluation letters submitted to the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation for those members of our population pursuing trades that require occupational licenses. These are just a couple of examples and just represent only a small portion of the valuable work performed by these regional teams. Now, to better utilize this expertise and establish meaningful connections earlier in an employee's tenure, the new hire process will transition to the new model beginning in 2027. New employees will spend 3 days in Huntsville rather than that week we talked about before, completing essential security training before reporting to their assigned campuses for the remainder of the week. It's kind of like what we're doing on the correctional officer side for cadets, being able to do on-the-job training at our various units. There, these new hires will begin hands-on onboarding activities, participate in virtual meetings, and receive direct support from regional coordinators and specialists. This approach allows employees to apply new concepts in real time within their actual work environment. By blending foundational training with immediate job-specific support, the district is creating a more effective onboarding experience that better prepares employees for long-term success. In closing, we as a board fully understand and appreciate that Windham's investments in modernized HR systems and a redesigned onboarding experience reflect a continued commitment to organizational excellence. As implementation continues, the board looks forward to hearing additional updates and demonstrations of how these improvements are strengthening the district's ability to recruit, support, and retain high-quality staff across the district. Our next agenda item is a report from our superintendent, Ms. Christina Hartman. And if you are ready, Ms. Hartman, please proceed.
Okay. Good afternoon, Chairman, Vice Chair, and members, and audience members. Today, I'm going to speak a bit about recent coalition building and collaboration within the district and our partners in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. So the past several months have been marked by significant progress in increasing access to education, strengthening strategic partnerships, and highlighting the work taking place across the Windham School District. From observing national best practices within education and corrections to engaging with legislative offices and community partners, I'm pleased to share several initiatives that are helping shape opportunities for the students and communities we serve. In June, I joined Texas Department of Criminal Justice Representatives Jason Clark, Chief Programs Officer, and April Zamora, Rehabilitation and Reentry Division Director, along with Cole Meyer, a policy analyst with Texas Appleseed, on a visit to Maine to tour innovative education and corrections programs at the Maine Correctional Center and Women's Reentry Center and the Maine State Prison. One of the most notable practices we observed was secure Wi-Fi technology in both classroom and housing environments. Students utilize laptops that allow them to complete post-secondary coursework through a combination of on-site instruction and online college courses, which are taken alongside traditional college students. This approach offers flexibility and access to higher education while providing valuable insight into emerging technologies and instructional models that may help inform future planning efforts across Texas, especially as we continue implementing connectivity and student devices within our own classrooms. We're happy to highlight that the O'Daniel campus will be the first to pilot connected student laptops in the education department in a specialized education dorm for students participating in the University of Houston Clear Lake Master's Degree Program that is scheduled to launch in January 2027. While in Maine, our group also observed maximized use of space through community gardens, kitchens, and incentivized housing units and peer support during the disciplinary and grievance processes. Next, Windham representatives, along with TDCJ, participated in a new manufacturing career pathways initiative at the Dominguez campus. This initiative brings together local manufacturing employers, Toyo Tetsu and Steve's Doors, with more to come, TDCJ's Rehabilitation, Reentry, and Parole divisions, local higher education partners, San Antonio College and the University of Texas at San Antonio, and advocacy and nonprofit organizations, including the Manufacturing Institute and Texas Center for Higher Education and Prison. The day started with a tour of the Dominguez campus programs with an emphasis on the progression from literacy to life skills to the production technician career and technical education program. The project aims to strengthen connections between workforce training during incarceration and meaningful employment prior to and following reentry. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, more than 963,000 production occupations are projected to open annually through 2034, creating substantial demand for skilled workers. And then we were really pleased to see and surprised that the Manufacturing Institute recently published an article in the national newsletter highlighting the program at Dominguez with an emphasis on the talent pipeline from prison to employment in the manufacturing field. We also welcome staff from Senator Donna Campbell's office to several campuses across the Central Texas region. The visit included tours of the Hilltop, Murray, and O'Daniel campuses, where attendees observed the Morelos High School programming, academic instructions, life skills courses, and clearly, as you see here, career and technical education. Whenever someone visits O'Daniel campus, we always like to put them on the CDL simulator and see how they do. So they had a really nice time with that visit. And we'll, I'm sure, continue to remember this experience throughout the legislative session as we talk technology and the needs in education and corrections.
Well, go ahead and tell us, how did they do?
He did pretty well. There were two of them, and he jumped right on. His colleague was a little more hesitant, and then eventually we put them in the truck outside. It did not move, but they enjoyed getting up there, and we allowed them to blow the horn. So I think that it's an experience they'll remember for a while. And then also, of course, they saw the Strive program and the ECHO. We invited our partners from Central Texas College to join us on the tour. So they were able to talk about dual credit opportunities. And since CTC, Central Texas College, has submitted an application to the Post-Secondary Advisory Board requesting program expansion for women. So these visits are important opportunities to increase awareness among Texas policymakers about Windham's mission and the impact of education and corrections as we begin preparations for the upcoming legislative session. The intentional connections that we're developing continue to elevate understanding of the life-changing work occurring throughout the district. Next, I'd like to highlight a recent report by Texas 2036 entitled Opening More Doors, Data, Progress, and Opportunities for Higher Education in Prisons, a report examining the growth of post-secondary education in Texas following passage of Senate Bill 2405, the Sunset Bill, during the 89th Texas Legislature. The report that was authorized by Luis Soberon, Senior Policy Advisor and in-house counsel, highlights early successes of the administration of higher education in prison programs through Windham School District and reinforces the benefits of increasing access to these opportunities along with suggestions for the future. So this is a really positive report. I know that it's been circulated among the lawmaking offices, and we're very grateful that Texas 2036 came to us every step of the way to verify data, to ensure that the program listings that they had were accurate, to run things past us in terms of content for the report. So very pleased to see that that collaboration occurred prior to publication. So among the findings, 7 new colleges and universities have been approved to offer programs within TDCJ since implementation of the bill. More than 6,200 post-secondary enrollments were recorded during fall 2025. So those are unique course enrollments across 15 higher education institutions. These accomplishments reflect the dedication of our college partners, our college and career readiness team, and TDCJ as we work with higher education institutions to expand access throughout the Texas prisons. And finally, our most recent pilot stemmed from attendance at the Gulf Coast Workforce Board Strategic Collaboration Session on Education and Workforce Alignment at Lone Star College in the Woodlands. This was an excellent data-driven session on labor market projections, wage earnings, and indicators of general success. Connections were made with the executive director of the Gulf Coast Workforce Solutions, who shared her experience having been to one of Windham's recent college and career days with the Education Service Center Region 6 contact for community referrals. You may recall that I believe I briefly mentioned the ride-along and office visit that I conducted with the parole division recently, and really that's where we saw the need for these connections with various community partners working together, making sure that we're supporting people who will soon be rejoining our Texas communities. So of course, April Zamora and I have been working closely, and we have an upcoming tour at the Ferguson unit with Workforce Solutions, Parole Division. So we're gonna return the tour with the Parole Division and the Education Service Center. That's going to be really neat as we begin piloting in the Huntsville area, students returning to the community with pre-reentry education referrals. So we hear a lot about pre-reentry employment. This is going to be pre-reentry enrollment in either their college programs where they've already been accepted, or if it's someone that hasn't finished their high school equivalency or CTE, the records transfer will occur. Get them on a conference call with the community provider so that there is a really smooth transition from the corrections setting to the community. So, and also I will say a bonus on the tour that we're doing is that our culinary arts students at Ferguson are going to prepare a meal, and for anyone that's experienced that, it's a very, very nice end to a tour when they prepare, and gives them the opportunity to serve and practice the skills that they're learning in the classroom. So upcoming initiatives, I believe that through one of our weekly reports, we submitted some information on AI and our pathway for permissible and effective use of AI. Earlier this week, we got back our staff survey on their comfort and familiarity with AI. They provided some feedback on different training resources that they would like to access and different ways in which they can use it. So I will conclude by saying this: we're really grateful for our partners within Texas and other states that are actively engaging with us to share ideas. I was at the federal prison here in Bryan yesterday for the first time, and I saw their certified nursing assistant program, which is something that we don't yet have, and we're able to share some ideas with them for broadening programs there. We've always, as you've heard, we've already engaged with Maine. We have a meeting next week with New York. There's something in my inbox from Oklahoma. So we're really very highly collaborative, and I'm proud of our team for Texas being the one who receives the calls and the contacts when there is a need for some support and technical assistance. And then, of course, we appreciate learning from the other states as well and bringing the unique ideas here. So that concludes my report.
Thank you very much for that report on many good things that are going on within the district. Any questions or comments from any of our board members? Yes, Ms. Zeiker?
Of course, I have a data question. Will we track or be able to track completion of education from these pre-release, what do you call it, referrals?
We are in the process of developing an MOU with the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, and one of the components associated with that is enrollment upon reentry. The Texas Workforce Commission maintains a lot of the data for the students who are going to access adult education in the communities, and we already have a data sharing agreement with them. That's a good flag for us and something certainly worth tracking.
Any other comments? I just have a question. If we could, can we get copies of that report from the group that Mr. Soberon is affiliated with to review for ourselves?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, we can just coordinate that with Ms. Durst but I think it's definitely worth looking at because we do value, and just to add a little more on that, could you just kind of explain the process that we've engaged in to have, as you said with other states, also get input from outside groups and groups who have an interest in trying to make sure that we're doing everything we can to help advance the cause of education and corrections.
Yes, and I think post-secondary is a really good example where you see codified in statute now the Post-Secondary Education Advisory Board. So that's a board that convenes every couple months or so and includes a representative of students, a representative of an organization that supports families of our students, Texas Workforce Commission, Higher Education Coordinating Board, Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. There is also a consortium for higher education prison in Texas that sits on that board. They have a representative. So we're consistently seeking feedback from stakeholders. And I think that likely is one of the reasons that we are able to maintain the rapport with our advocacy groups as well. Because we will not only accept feedback from them, but we'll call them and ask for their opinion on different things. And it's been very, very helpful. I think I've said before that sometimes we're spot on and other times they're saying, please do not do that. We have some suggestions on different things that you can do. So the coalition, the collaboration building, whether it's with a state agency, an advocacy group, community partners, walking into a workforce solutions office, which is something that we briefed our regional principals on this morning, that our staff should be getting out there and introducing themselves, making our communities aware of our student population and the talent pipeline associated with them, and then hearing any concerns or questions that they have so that we can effectively address the needs of our students and our communities at the same time.
And lastly, you spotlighted the visit from members of Senator Donna Campbell's office, and just to make sure that it's very clear to everybody, I mean, do we kind of have an open door policy with respect to legislators and members of their staff who actually want to come in, especially before we get caught up in the legislative cycle, to actually come in and actually see the programs that are going to be talked about during the legislative session?
We do, and this is a very timely question and comment because, again, this morning we provided our regional principals with some training on how to interact with elected officials in the areas that they live and the areas that we have prisons. So they have training. They will provide that to their principals. And this happened last session also. They actually go out into the community district offices and they take our annual performance report, introduce themselves, hear from our elected officials on things that they'd like to see, inform them about district initiatives. And there's always an invitation at the end there to come in and see what we're doing. And that is a very regular invitation. I know that TDCJ extends the same when we have a virtual call and there are a lot of questions. The best way to learn about it is to see it.
And on behalf of our board, we obviously thank Senator Campbell and her staff for doing it, and but there are many other legislators who also take advantage of that opportunity to lay eyes on the things that are happening within our district, and also on the TBCJ side within the TBCJ system. So thank you for that presentation. Any other comments or questions? If not, the next item on our agenda is a discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the Windham School District fiscal year 2027 proposed operating budget and fiscal years 2028, 2029 legislative appropriations request. Our Windham School District Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Robert O'Banion, is at the podium and will be presenting today. I'd like to also note that over the last month, each of our board members individually met with Windham finance leaders and reviewed the details of the proposed operating budget and legislative appropriations request. And so I thank all of our board members for the time that they've spent before this meeting in reviewing this request in detail, asking questions, getting the information that this board needs to do its job. And these budget plans were the result of many months of preparation and meetings with leadership offices across the state on the needs of the district. So Mr. O'Banion, with that intro, when you're ready, please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman Nichols and members. As discussed, thank you for being here and for this opportunity to discuss the Windham School District budget book and salary schedule for the 26-27 school year, as well as Windham's legislative appropriations exceptional item request. And thank you for all your support for our district. First, I'd like to share a few of the positive initiatives that we have planned for this next school year that are outlined within the budget book that's within your board document. First, if you would turn to page 3 of the document, you'll see that the total revenues increased by $460,000 for fiscal year 27 for a total of $93,972,498. The fluctuations from the prior year are primarily driven from our grant funds, where we received an award for the Jobs and Education for Texans grant from the Texas Workforce Commission to support career and technical education for the Industrial Maintenance Tech program at our Plain campus. The all funds budgeted expenditures increased for fiscal year 27 by 5.4% or $5.5 million to $106,964,291. The FY27 recommended budget includes expenses for 32.5 additional teaching positions and 23 additional support staff positions to accommodate the growing number of eligible students. This over $3 million increase in expenses is expected to be gradual during the year as we continue new recruiting initiatives of hiring retirees, meeting our capacity goals within accountability, and implementing solid recruitment strategies. Additionally, the FY27 recommended budget includes multiple one-time expenses for various initiatives. We've included $915,000 to continue expanding classroom connectivity. This is done utilizing one-time appropriated funds from the legislature in a partnership with TDCJ's Information and Technology Division to ensure that the infrastructure and implementation does not duplicate services. The expenditures also include $2.1 million to introduce and expand instructional technology devices for students, as well as $1.3 million for additional student computer lab devices, teacher and support staff laptops, and IT contracted services. The personnel schedule within next year's budget, which ends at the bottom of page 8, you'll see that our overall total full-time equivalent employees increased from last year's budget by 55.5 to 1,274.5 FTEs for fiscal year 27. And then the remaining pages of the budget, pages 9 through 13, reflect our different salary plans. Those overall remained consistent with the schedule presented last year as our Human Resources Department continues the classification study. And now I'd like to transition to the second component of my presentation this afternoon, which is in preparation of the upcoming legislative session. Also included in your board packet, it's just at the end of our 28-page budget book, is our one-page legislative appropriations exceptional item request. We're requesting approval to submit an exceptional item request to the legislature of $6,849,397 each year of the upcoming 28-29 biennium. This request includes two different components. The first is $3.4 million each year for an additional 36 teachers and 15 support positions to expand services to 32 campuses. These additional positions are expected to support 255 more students achieving their high school equivalency, 3,808 additional industry certifications, and almost 1 million additional contact hours with students. The second component of the exceptional item request is also for $3.4 million each year to support ongoing instructional technology costs to support of our instructional technology plan. Components within this include network management for secure student access, reoccurring bandwidth charges, as well as equipment maintenance. This exceptional item will be provided to the Texas Education Agency, and they will include it in the submission to the Legislative Budget Board. And finally, I want to, Superintendent Hartman, as well as the Director of Instruction, Kevin Sonic, my counterpart, and myself, I want to send out a thank you to some of our team members, the finance team, the human resources team. Their contributions have been significant to create the document today. Without their support, we wouldn't have the book to present. And I also want to send out a little special thank you to our Department Director of Business Services, Michelle Owen, who's behind me this morning. She contributed significantly over the years to create the budget and lead our Business Services Department. Monday is her last day with Windham. She'll be retiring with almost 37 years of service, of state service. So, Michelle, thank you for your commitment, your hard work, and for being a trusted colleague. So.
And I don't mean to interrupt you too, but I had a chance to visit with Ms. Owen a little bit earlier and thank her for her work. But do you have other members of your finance team here in the audience with us here today? Or?
We do. Taking her place will be Michelle Lewis, who's also here beside her. She's going to be taking the lead within our Business and Service Department, so she'll also be leading that team going forward. So we'll be in good hands going forward.
Could we just have all the members of the finance team who are here with us just kind of stand up to be recognized? Thank you.
All right. So at this time, I'm available to answer any questions about our budget and exceptional item request. And I request that the Windham School District Board of Trustees approve the 26-27 budget for the Windham School District and the legislative appropriations exceptional item request as presented. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, as I said earlier, we are respectful of our persons who step forward to give public comments. So I'd like to I know board members have a number of questions and comments on the presentation, but first I'd like to take up we have one registered speaker on this particular item of the budget. So Jennifer Toon, are you with us here today? If you'd come to the podium and Ms. Toon, you heard me earlier, but I just need to go through this for public comments on issues within the jurisdiction of the board we received that one registration card, yours, and as you know, today's comment time is set at 3 minutes per individual, and I know you know all this stuff because I've seen you here. I've seen you at the Board of Criminal Justice meeting, so just bear with me.
Sure.
And you know about the red light on the timer in front of me that notifies presenters when his or her time has expired. And I've also got my usual comments about, you hear me all the time talk about treating each other with respect and core principles of respect that should be the governing force behind everything that we do. I'm not going to go through all that with you because every time you've been presenting at our board, you have been extremely respectful and thoughtful. So with that, I would invite you to give us your thoughts on this agenda item concerning the Windham School District budget.
Absolutely. Thank y'all. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Just so excited to be here. I am Jennifer with Lioness Justice Impacted Women's Alliance. First, I want to say Windham is very dear to my heart. I spent 8 years as an incarcerated library aide, so very, very picky about messing up my decimal system. And also, I was the first female columnist for the Echo. Very excited that the women now at the Dr. Lane Murray unit now also have an Echo office. So I want to highlight real quick about that Texas 2036 report. That is the place to go to really see the evidence of why Sunset made the right decision to put higher education back under Wyndham's control. And so the successes, I won't, belabor them because Ms. Hartman did a great job, but I just want to touch on the master's program. That is an example of when advocacy and agencies work together to make sure that the women have what they need to really participate in higher education the way that they would like to. And also, I really want to highlight too, the report does mention some places that Windham can continue to grow around making sure that programs are robust for women and also making sure that accessibility for units that are in rural areas. We're also waiting for an update to hear about, Pell Grants for the women that are participating in the bachelor program. So there are things that Windham can work on with investment to continue building on the success that's already happening. And that leads me to the budget. I have ideas about how to spend money. So we've already heard some of that already, is that please continue to invest in making sure that incarcerated students have the technology, that they have laptops, that they have all the things they need to really understand what it's like to come out here in the world and be a free world student. I know that for myself, when I was participating in higher education, I had a pencil and a piece of paper, and then I got out to UT Tyler and had no idea how to work a computer. I did not know what was expected of me in terms of research. So really providing all those materials that they need, not only to do their coursework well while they're there, but to also really understand what it means to be a great student out here. This is directly related to their success in their reentry journey. So it sounds like a lot of money. I know that it is, but it is a deep investment, and especially for our members, when they're great students inside, they come home and they're great moms, wives, and sisters. So we support the things that we've already heard about the budget, and we hope the board will too. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tuna. Just real quick, so you're reading my mind a little bit, because one of my questions was to get a little more flavor for the technology piece and the connectivity piece. So thank you for that. And then with respect to your comment about services in rural areas, so I know from working with the Windham District and its management that they're making all kinds of strides to try to see what we can do to provide the services in those areas that may not have the resources of some of our urban areas. But I have a challenge back to you, which is that I think every time I go out into one of our more rural communities, I'm always talking to folks about, you can help us, all right? Talk about Windham. Talk about the wonderful things that are going on in Windham, and specifically talk to those persons who you think may have had an outstanding career in a technical field, that maybe they're coming up on a chapter in their life where they want to start something new. Come join us. Come lead one of those great career and technical education courses that we may not right now be able to support in those rural areas because we don't have a good instructor. That's just one example. Right. So I know you're doing this, but I'm just using this as an opportunity to just kind of get that word out there that we really do need the support, especially in our rural communities, to make sure that the message is getting out about the opportunity to truly make a difference in the system by supporting the type of programming that you're talking about. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to make that point too.
Absolutely.
So any other comments or thoughts for Ms. Toon? If not, thank you so much again for your participation.
Absolutely. Thank y'all.
And Mr. O'Banion, if you don't mind coming back up, because I know members of the board are going to have some questions for you, so I'll just open up the floor. Pastor?
Yes, Mr. O'Banion, I believe in the budget we saw, and you touched on it, that the number of FTEs is gonna grow by about
Correct.
230 or so.
This year's budget, the FTEs are increasing by 55 and a half.
Okay, 55 and a half, I'm
total
sorry, I was looking
FTEs.
at that center column where, there was 1035 or something like that there.
Right,
Okay.
the center column that you're referring to there in our personnel schedule is where we're expected to end this year. So that's
Right.
our filled positions. So we are filled right about 80% of where we currently are. So that number that's about a little over 1,000 is the number of filled positions. that we
Okay,
have.
good, thank you for clearing that up. And does, in the LAR there, do the staff positions in the middle section there of that page, is that what those numbers are growing?
Correct. That LAR, legislative appropriation on this one pager, that section is the component where we're asking the legislature to fund the ongoing costs related to those teaching positions.
Okay.
Correct.
Good, thank you.
And support staff.
Ms. Zeiker?
Mine's really just a comment and a thanks to Windham and your team for how much thought you've put into how you're going to fill those positions, how you're going to obtain those positions. Thank you for even entertaining some of my crazy ideas on how we could do that. I really enjoyed our budget briefing this year and how creative in your thinking you're being on how we can reach more students. And I really want to point out the number of increased contact hours that we would have with our students. Nearly 1 million, is that
Correct.
right?
Right.
Nearly 1 million additional contact hours with our students if we are fully funded, as we very much hope to be. So thank you for that, and thank you for your leadership, and Kevin as well. He had lots of good ideas and things to say. I think it's a really important thing that we continue to expand our reach, our services to as many students as possible. So thank you.
All right, well, I'll General Welch.
Yeah, I'd like to add to what Ms. Zeiker just said is, excuse me, I'm all caught up in the wires under the table. I've worked on a lot of budgets through my careers, and I mean, holy smokes, it's a grind, and it takes a lot of effort and a lot of people to make it work the way it does. And you did a nice job of pointing out some of those people that really provided an exceptional input. But I think the level of detail that we see in this budget gave me comfort, like Ms. Zeiker was saying. It was a very, very good process going through it together, and the level of detail is exceptional. The thoughtfulness and consideration for various areas of improvement, constant improvement within this organization, within the school district, is unbelievable. And that requires, I think, coordination throughout your entire staff, not only the budget staff or your staff, throughout the entire staff of Windham. And so I'd like to say thank you to everybody who's participated in this. It's given us great insight into what you're capable of doing and desire to do in the future. And so I want to say thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I have just a couple of questions. So first is about we're always thinking about our teachers. So I'll throw it to you and maybe to our superintendent as well. How are we doing? I know that we were able to adjust our teacher salaries up in recent history, but how are we doing in terms of our teacher compensation and rate scale compared to what teachers across our great state are earning at other school districts?
So we have received a lot of support from the legislature, and we've been able to provide almost a 20% salary increase to our staff over the last number of sessions, including last session when House Bill 2 was passed by the legislature, which impacted all teachers. Windham was also able to be included in that, which gave a salary increase depending on their steps. Our teachers right now, the Texas Education Agency average teacher salary is around $64,000 per teacher that they report. Our teachers are right at 74, so 64 to 74. Now that number is impacted by their average step. Our teachers in average around a step 14, so they have 14 years of experience in the classroom. We start off teachers a little bit behind the TEA average, so our first step is almost $51,000, and the Texas Education Agency on average is reporting a little bit higher, closer to $55,000. So we're just under that first step at the beginning, and then if you look at the very bottom of that pay scale, which is a 21-step pay scale, so when you get into that 20-plus years of experience, the Texas Education Agency is topping out around 75, and then Windham is closer to 82. So we're higher for those more experienced teachers, but we're behind at the lower end of that. So.
Okay, thank you. That's good information. And also, is it just so everyone knows, for teachers who are transitioning from another school district in Texas, for example, or a private school in Texas, when they come into our program, are they still considered to be part of the teacher community for purposes of benefits and things like teacher retirement and all those great benefits that teachers very properly are owed?
Yes, their years of service will transfer over to Windham. There's a verification process similar to what they would utilize when they're changing districts within the public setting. And just to add to Robert's presentation, that's really great information. We are taking a look at those lower steps, at those initial teachers, because we need teachers that are coming right out of school that have the newest technology in their hands that can help us as a team to build that. So that's something that he briefly referenced our classification study. We'll be looking at those initial steps as well.
Good, and just while we're on that topic, do you want to just say a word about the program to actually bring in entry level, maybe folks who don't quite yet have their teaching certificate, and how that might work and help with our teacher force?
Yes, so we worked with Texas Education Agency for, I think it was a couple of years, to get to the point where Windham, they were able to message to all of the different education providers for teacher education that teachers can do their internships with Windham, that they can seek alternative certification and utilize Windham as their employer. So our human resources team and our general counsel are working on policy updates that would afford us the opportunity to bring in teachers or folks that are in those programs currently to then continue and finish up the program with Windham on a probationary certificate and then transition to a professional certificate with us.
Excellent. Go ahead, Ms. Secker.
This would be basically their student teaching would be done with Windham, or even beyond that.
Right, so it could be the student teaching, or it could be, if it's an alternative certification pathway, they already have a bachelor's degree, now they want to come into teaching. It can be for someone that's a current employee with us that now wants to be a principal or wants to be a student advisor, where we can sign off as their site supervisor. And that's already happening for principals and student advisors.
And then, as I mentioned to Ms. Toon, you knew I was going to ask a question about connectivity and technology in the classroom. So you made a couple of points, so if you can just elaborate on those a little bit more. First of all, the level of collaboration in getting connectivity, both in terms of hardwired and wireless access into the classroom to support things like the virtual reality headsets that I've seen and other things that may require a wireless connectivity, and also some of the efforts when we talk about connectivity, kind of what that looks like in the context of a Windham classroom.
Certainly. So what our connectivity plan that we have in place, which we kicked off this year, we've got about a 3-year plan that we're looking to provide that connectivity to all 102 of our campuses. Where we're going in and providing bandwidth into those campuses, as well as wireless access points, so that all the devices at that campus can be connected wirelessly to the internet. Secure connections, so we're able to make sure that the right people have access to the right things, and students will be able to do their online assessments for their high school equivalency tests will be done online. Their career and technical education assessments will be done online in our computer lab setting. Our test of adult basic education, which assesses their educational level, those will be done online. You go into the classrooms environment, students will have devices in the classroom where they'll be able to access curriculum. It'll be also be online. The student will log in and be able to see the content that's appropriate for that class. And the contracts that we have in place for that curriculum, they'll be able to provide enhancements to their educational experience. And that online connectivity, there's a lot of benefits there. To some of the academic curriculum will be connected and designed specifically for them, so that when they go through their education journey, it knows what their educational level is, and the content will be appropriate for that, and it's also prepare them for that high school equivalency. And then in career and technical education, a number of resources that they can also access online for virtual reality, like you mentioned, both in our life skills classes, our career and technical education classes have those online virtual reality components where they'll be able to use that bandwidth to provide a strong educational experience.
And Robert, I'll just add that this is putting our students in a position where they have similar access to technology that the community students do.
Yeah.
So to Ms. Toon's point earlier, we need our students to be prepared to jump right into the workforce, and if they don't have the tools and they don't have the ability and the teachers don't have the resources to do that, then perhaps they'll be behind the curve when they get back to the community. And certainly we have regular meetings with TDCJ, minimum of once a month, where we are planning together, we are not duplicating efforts, we are ensuring that the resources are adequate for what Windham needs for the connectivity funds and plan that we have. We don't have all this extra, and neither do they in terms of bandwidth. We are working on a contract to pool all of the bandwidth, so only what's needed per campus is routed to each campus. So then there is not the concern about taxpayer dollars going to all this extra that's not utilized. So we're using every inch of what we have. Had a meeting earlier this week, even with our college partners, saying we don't both need to put our devices up here and be paying for the same thing. Let's get on the same thing and share together. So very regular conversations about ensuring we don't duplicate efforts.
Yes, please, let's have one, and I know that legislators have expressed that as well. They do not want to be spending money for multiple connectivity systems, and there's no need for it.
Right, and we think of it like this. I'm really happy I'm going to be able to draw this illustration for you. For those of us that have spouses or have had a roommate or a sibling where we're sharing the same bathroom, and there's the one sink or the two sink options, right? So you have the two sinks, you're just using the water that you need, and it's just coming through as you need it. If you have the one sink, we may turn it on high pressure, but there are too many hands going in there, getting in the way. So we're using the two sink process, only using the water that we need, and everyone is happy.
Very, very good. We appreciate all of that commentary, and as others have said, really appreciate all of the hard work that has been put on formulating the 2027 budget, as well as the legislative appropriation request and the exceptional item request for the 28-29 biennium. And so with that, any other questions or comments from the board? If not, do I have a motion with respect to this agenda item?
Yes, Chairman, I have a motion. I move to amend the proposed budget and salary schedule by changing the superintendent's salary from $199,500 to $225,000. And I further move that the Windham School District Board of Trustees approve the budget and salary schedule for the 2026 through 2027 school year as amended, and authorize the superintendent to make transfers as necessary as authorized by board policy. Thank you.
I have a motion to adopt the proposed budget as amended, as stated in the motion. Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion from General Welch. I have a second from Ms. Zeiker. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Appreciate your presentation, as always. Our next item on our agenda is a discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding contracts over $500,000. Mr. O'Banion, whenever you're ready, please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman, members. My second request this afternoon is for approval of a contract over $500,000. This contract is in support of Windham's role as administrator of our post-secondary education programs offered by institutions of higher education within the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. And this is the first contract Windham has presented under the post-secondary Memorandum of Understanding with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. We're requesting approval for a contract with Lee College in the amount of $786,240 to continue providing 4-credit certificate and associate degree programs at 9 campuses. I'm pleased to share that Lee College recently celebrated 60 years of service within the correctional environment. And this agreement is for this next school year, the 2026-27 school year, and it ends August the 31st, 2027. And funding for this contract is included in next year's budget. I'll pause for any questions.
Well, I'll just make a comment that that Lee College did in fact celebrate its milestone, 60 years, right? And Superintendent, I don't know if you want to say a few words about that program and about the great contributions of Lee College to education and corrections.
Yes, we have a long-standing relationship with Lee College, as does the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. They are a premier provider of education in our Texas communities and in corrections in general. They're often contacted, as we are, by out-of-state providers that are interested in getting into the environment. Their 60th anniversary celebration was extremely impactful. We were able to hear from alumni, many of whom had been back in the Texas communities for quite some time. Very, very impactful. I know that some of our audience members were there as well. And interestingly, earlier today, they received approval for a new program at the Plain unit. It's a heating, ventilation, and air conditioning program. And that approval was provided by the advisory board and by TDCJ and is with Lee College today. And a big thank you to our facilities division, who every time Lee College or another wants to add a technical program, they have to go in and assess the facility and see if the power is adequate, see if the ventilation is going to work. But again, a big congratulations to our colleagues at Lee College, and we intend on celebrating all year with them.
Well, it's well-deserved, and as you correctly pointed out, the most powerful part of that program, that celebration of those 60 years, was hearing from all of those alumni that have been through Lee College programs and the personal success stories that just are a constant reminder of what the mission is, and also that the mission is achievable. So thank you for that. Any other questions about this agenda item on discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding contracts over $500,000? If not, do I have a motion?
Yes, Chairman. I move that the Windham School District Board of Trustees approve the contracts over $500,000 as presented.
I have a motion from Ms. Zeiker. Do I have a second? I have a motion from Ms. Zeiker. I have a second from Pastor Sprinkle. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. O'Banion. The next item on our agenda is a discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding proposed revision of Windham Board Policy 07.01 entitled Employment of Personnel. Windham's General Counsel, Mr. Eric Brown, is at the podium, so when you're ready, please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman Nichols, members, Superintendent Hartman. A proposed revision to this policy allows job openings to be announced internally and filled by current employees before posting outside the district. This may be helpful when a position requires specialized knowledge or there is a large number of qualified internal applicants. The rest of the revisions address formatting, clarity, and readability. I'll pause for questions.
Any questions from members of the board? If not, do I have a motion?
Yes, Chairman, I move that the Windham School District Board of Trustees approve the revision of Windham Board Policy 07.01, Employment of Personnel, as presented.
I have a motion from Pastor Sprinkle. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Pastor Sprinkle, second from General Welch. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. The next item on our agenda is a discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding proposed revision of Windham Board Policy 07.53 entitled Administrative Leave. When you're ready, Mr. Brown, please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman. The proposed revisions to this policy create hazardous weather leave and allow the superintendent to authorize district-wide administrative leave with prior notice to the board office. Additionally, a revision would expand the family relationships applicable to bereavement leave. The rest of the revisions address formatting, clarity, and readability, and I'll pause for questions.
Board members, any questions on this agenda item? If not, do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Windham School District Board of Trustees approve the revision of Windham Board Policy 07.53, Administrative Leave as presented.
I have a motion on this agenda item by Mr. Garza. Any second?
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Garza. I have a second from Judge Johnson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. I think that concludes our agenda for today. So I again thank all of you who are here with us in person and also those observing online. The next meeting of the Windham School District Board of Trustees will take place on November 6, 2026 in Huntsville. And I believe that we're going to be having that meeting at our new, our training facility. Is that correct? So we're going to be, actually, for those of you who want to see that amazing new training facility in Huntsville, this would be a great opportunity for you all to be able to see that facility for yourselves. So that'll be November 6, 2026 at the Brian Collier Leadership and Training Center in Huntsville, Texas. There being no further business, the 355th meeting of the Windham School District Board of Trustees is now adjourned. It is 3:02 p.m. Thank you, and we'll take a 5-minute recess and we'll pick up with committee meetings.
Good afternoon. I'd like to start with a meeting on the Audit and Review Committee. I'd like to start by going ahead and placing and calling this meeting to order. The meeting of the Texas Board of Criminal Justice Audit and Review Committee is called to order in accordance with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, the Open Meetings Act. A quorum of the committee is present, and the meeting is now declared open. It is 3:13 p.m. The first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Are there any amendments or objections to the proposed minutes as presented? No questions. If hearing none, the minutes as presented on the agenda will stand as approved. Next on the agenda, we have the Chief Audit Executive Director, Renee Russell, who will be providing an operations overview of the fiscal year 2027 annual audit plan. Ms. Russell, thank you for being here with us today, and you may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Garza, Chairman Nichols, board members, Mr. Lumpkin. Today, I want to take this opportunity to talk to you about the Office of the Independent Auditor, who we are, what we do, where we are now, and where we're headed in the future. At its core, the Office of the Independent Auditor exists to provide independent, objective insight, helping leadership understand where risks and controls are working well, where there are opportunities for improvement, and where we can make the agency stronger. And that's really the foundation for what we do. We're helpers. So how do we fulfill that mission? Our work really falls into 4 areas. First, assurance, our traditional audit work. That's our performance, compliance, and internal control reviews. Second is our advisory services. We can engage earlier and more collaboratively through consulting, risk assessments, and policy reviews. Third is monitoring. We don't just issue a report and walk away. We follow up on recommendations, track implementation, and stay alert to emerging risks. And finally, investigations, helping identify and address fraud, waste, and abuse. Our professional standards, which y'all have heard me talk about before, define what we do, but our ethical values and our core values and ethical commitments define how. At the center of that is trust. First, integrity means we tell the truth, even when it's difficult. Objectivity means we follow the evidence, not influence or opinion. Competency means we continually develop our expertise so we can provide high-quality assurance. And confidentiality means we protect the sensitive information entrusted to us. These principles are what keep us pointed in the right direction. As the board knows, Cheryl and I have been in our positions for a very short amount of time, but we wanted to hit the ground running. And in our first 90 days, our focus was on 4 things: direction, standards, capacity, and engagement. For direction, we finalized our 3-year strategic plan and developed the FY27 audit plan using enterprise risk, stakeholder input, and emerging risks. For standards, we completed a gap assessment against the revised global internal auditing standards, a GAGAS risk assessment, and our external peer review. Those efforts gave us a clear understanding of where we're strong and where we have opportunities to improve. For capacity, we hired 3 auditors, bringing us to a fully staffed audit team, which I'm very excited about. And finally, engagement. We met with every division director and executive leadership and increased communication throughout the audit process, particularly around recommendations, so that what we identify is clear, actionable, and achievable. So while we've only been here a short time, we've spent that time putting the foundation in place for where we're taking OIA next. And ultimately, our ability to deliver on that strategy comes down to our people. Our greatest asset is our team. As I said, we are now fully staffed with 21 team members, including 14 auditors and 6 management positions. That gives us the capacity to execute the FY27 plan while continuing to respond to emerging risks. And we're not starting from scratch. Our team brings an average of 14 years of experience with 276 combined years of professional experience, along with a strong mix of educational backgrounds and professional credentials, as you can see on the screen. And our credentials include 11 certified internal auditors, 6 certified fraud examiners, 2 certifications in risk management assurance, and 4 certified government auditing professionals. Those credentials give us expertise around internal audit, fraud examination, risk management, and government auditing. So when I talk about where we're taking OIA, we're fortunate to have a very strong foundation to build on, a fully staffed team with significant experience, diverse expertise, and strong professional credentials. So we've got the mission, and we've got the expertise, we've got the foundation. The next question is, what are we gonna do with it? And that's really where our strategic plan comes into play. Every initiative in our strategic plan is anchored in one of these 5 priorities. Are we auditing the right things? Are we meeting stakeholder expectations? Are we operating efficiently? Do we have the right people and capabilities? And are we preparing OIA for the future? Our full strategic plan was also provided to each member of the Audit and Review Committee for questions and feedback. That stakeholder engagement is an important part of how we approach our professional responsibilities. Ultimately, our goal isn't to simply complete audits, it's to be a trusted, risk-based advisor that helps the board and agency leadership make better decisions. The final piece is how we'll measure success. We've identified 5 areas that will help us determine whether we're actually making progress. 1 is risk-based oversight. So are we focused on the areas of greatest risk and value? 2, trusted partnerships. Are stakeholders asking us to do more? Are they satisfied with our work? And are our reports clear and useful? 3, operational excellence. Are we completing our plan, managing our resources effectively, and maintaining quality? 4, people and capability. Are we developing the skills we need for the future? And 5, continue we've been working to build. Tomorrow, I'll bring the plan forward for formal board approval. And once approved, the FY27 audit plan will be posted on the agency website. Very quickly, I am going to indulge myself today. On a quick personal note, today's my birthday. I know everybody in the room knows. It would have also been my grandmother's 101st birthday. And my gran was the woman who raised me. And so much of who I am today is because of her. As a matter of fact, you won't catch me in August without red nails to pay respect for her. But we both had a love for Dolly Parton. So I wanted to share one of the quotes that is often attributed to Dolly, and that is, "Find out who you are and do it on purpose." And I think that's the perfect quote for today's presentation. At OIA, we know who we are, we know why we're here, and as we move forward, we intend to do it on purpose. Thank you. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Well, first of all, thank you for the report. We appreciate the information and the updates. I do want to make a comment that the last meeting in Huntsville, Chairman Nichols and I had the opportunity to visit with you and your staff. Thank you for taking the time for us that day. One of the things that we did notice that there was some vacancies, and I'm happy to hear today that you're fully staffed.
Yes.
Really grateful for that. Are the new team members here with you today?
They are attending the next board meeting in November. So I
Okay.
have some team members here, but those are team members that have been with us for a while.
Great, well, welcome, and thank you for your hard work. The other thing is, it's the things that are audited, right? And so one of the questions that I had for you, and this is for information for the rest of the board members, is who comes up with which department or division is gonna be audited next, what area of that department, and who comes up with is it randomly? And we heard from you that some of the times it's the department itself that requests the audits.
Correct.
And I think that was very good to hear when the department heads themselves say, hey, can you come audit this? And what recommendations and improvements can you come up with that can help our department? And I truly appreciate the department heads who are using your department to better themselves. And so I just wanted to make a comment on that. Any other comments from any board members?
Just very briefly, Mr. Garza, so just stepping back, all right? So always think about the big picture. So the office that you oversee is the Office of the Independent Auditor.
Correct.
And that office obviously reports directly to this board, correct?
Correct.
So that is part of what makes that office independent. So when you talk about your mission statement and you say that the mission of the office is to assist agency administrators, can you just kind of talk a little bit about the philosophy behind that? On the one hand, you are definitely an independent organization that is charged with doing the audit functions that you talked about. But how do you professionally manage the need to maintain independence in the way that we're talking about, with also having collaborative and productive relationships with those that may be the subject of one of those audits?
Absolutely. Well, first things first, I think Mr. Lumpkin and I have a very good working relationship. We've worked together over the years as both of us have moved up in our respective positions. But secondly, we keep, to answer Mr. Garza's question, in tandem, we keep an ongoing risk assessment. So what we audit comes from our risk assessment. We also take into consideration requests from the agency in order to keep that collaboration going. We would never take a request from the agency and not audit a high-risk area because something was requested. So we will not subject our judgment to requests. But the one thing that I tell everyone is, while we are independent, our goal is to improve criminal justice activities. And what better way to do that than collaborate with the agency that we are tasked with auditing? At times, absolutely, it is a difficult position to be in, but that's why that collaboration and getting to know your client and working with your client day in and day out is so important. There's a mutual respect. They understand it's not personal. It is an opportunity for us to come in and, before the bad thing happens, point out areas that can be improved, and also assist. And we do that a lot through consultations and things like that. So not quite an audit, but a chance for us to give advice in the moment while they're working through things.
That's fantastic. And in terms of the work that you do, I mean, I know that I asked this question. I know other members of the board ask these two questions. Question number one is, are you obtaining the cooperation that you need from TDCJ management to do your job effectively? That's question number one. We always ask that. And then question number two, just to piggyback on what Mr. Garza was saying, do you have the resources that you need to carry out this important function? And so just to ask a question based on Mr. Garza's comment earlier, so how did you do it? How did you get to the point of having those vacancies that Mr. Garza and I talked to you about some time ago, to the point where you're fully staffed? And I ask you this because we can all learn in this fast-paced world, as I was talking about earlier at the Windham School District Board of Trustees meeting, this fast-paced world of mobility in the workplace and trying to get people in. So give us a few tips that you would give us on effective recruiting and retention.
Absolutely. Well, first things first, I tell everyone that if you want to learn, internal audit is where, or the Office of the Independent Auditor is where you want to come work. If you want to know about the agency, we touch every part of the agency. We get to know so much about the agency. And as you all know, this agency never stops moving. There's always something new to learn and something new to do. And so we hire people that have a want to learn and to continue learning. And I think the ever-changing environment of the new audit every 3 to 6 months helps us with retention. As far as recruitment, we have a very good career path in our office. So people are allowed to, and we've worked collaboratively with the agency to get to that point, to have that very good career path in place. So they may come in as an Auditor 1, but they will move up as they advance their skills up to an Auditor 5. and then ultimately, hopefully into an audit management position once we have one available. And so I think between the opportunities to grow in our office, but also the opportunity to never really get bored, because you never really get bored doing what we do, I think that helps us retain people.
Those are my questions. Thank you, Mr. Garza.
Thank you, Chairman Nichols. Any other questions or comments from any board members? Mr. Lumpkin?
Yes, I just want to mention, and certainly, as Renee mentioned, we have a long history of working together, but as a chief audit executive, what comes with the position is literally the keys to the agency. Keys, badge access, everything, all of the above. There's nowhere that she doesn't have access to. She doesn't have to call and ask any permission from any of the executive team. Same thing with the division directors and the dialogue of areas that they have when they develop the audit plan. They don't have to vet through any executive office. Is it okay if we talk to Ms. Russell about this area or that area? We absolutely embrace the work that they do and come in and look at every aspect of the agency and the highest risk or areas that they think that need to have a hard look at, and that's always supported. Again, we have a great working relationship and absolutely respect the work that they do and what they're charged with doing, but just want to mention that they have absolute access to any part of the agency to do that.
Yes, thank you for that. I will piggyback on that and just say that is why confidentiality is one of our core values, because we do not take that access lightly. We know that we really have access to anything we need in order to do our job, and therefore we really take confidentiality and keeping that in-house very seriously.
Yes, sir.
Part of that too is the feedback that you get on the work that you do. And as part of the typical audit process, is there a portion of the audit process that actually allows management to provide feedback on proposed audit findings, for example?
Yes, absolutely. So in each audit, there's an opportunity for feedback during the report writing process. We have draft reports that are issued. Before those reports are finalized, the client, the division directors, all the way up to Mr. Lumpkin have an opportunity to review that report and give us feedback. And then once that audit is finalized, they have an opportunity to answer a post-audit survey to give us a really good look at how well they think we've done throughout the audit and not just input on the report itself.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, and thank you for those comments. You know, I want to emphasize what Mr. Lumpkin was saying. The collaboration between the agency and your staff is extremely important, and I think we need to take advantage of the recommendations that comes with the reviews on these audits and the dispositions. I think we need to take those very serious, because I think there's always room for improvements. And the idea of having this office is to continue improving our organization. So thank you both for the work. If there's no other comments, Ms. Russell, thank you for the overview. This is not an action item, so we're going to go ahead and move forward to the next item, which is an overview of the Administrative Review and Risk Management Division. Our director, Marvin Dunbar, will be presenting today. Mr. Dunbar, you can start when you're ready, sir.
Is it on? Can you hear me? Okay. Chairman Nichols and members of the board, Mr. Lumpkin, thank you for the opportunity to present an update on the Armed Division. The Armed Division consists of 10 departments with nearly 1,000 employees who provide support services to inmates at the unit level. We also monitor agency activities to ensure compliance with state law, federal law, and best practices in corrections. Next slide. Our mission is to review policies for improvement, monitor operations for compliance, address potential risks, and ensure accountability measures are being taken by unit staff. The Access to Court staff work to ensure all inmates are provided their constitutional rights in a meaningful court services. As you can see, the bulk of these services are set aside for law library sessions and delivery of legal materials to inmates in restrictive housing. They also provide notary services, attorney phone calls, and facilitate virtual court hearings. Go to the next slide. The Behavior Intervention Team, they work at ensuring all use of forces are in compliance with agency policy, Texas government codes, Texas penal codes. In FY 25, there were 13,346 incidents that were reviewed, and in 2026, as of July, 11,983. It's a lot that's going on. Our counsel substitute department assists inmates during disciplinary process. They interview inmates, witnesses. They review surveillance and body-worn video footage on the inmate's behalf. They also assist inmates with language barriers. And if you look at our charts, you can see in 2025 and 2026, they are trending down. We believe that has to do with all the efforts that's taking place with our de-escalation. A lot of training that's going on constantly. Also, the body-worn cameras and the tasers, those things are helping us reduce those numbers. Our court administration office coordinate court virtually for counties, other states, and federal cases such as immigration hearings. We're currently serving 143 Texas counties and 41 other states. We assist them with their court efforts. And recently, as of this month, we implemented our bio thumb readers and electronic signature pads as part of the process. So we're moving forward with technology as well. The inmate grievance department, we have a team of 155 grievance investigators that process over 100,000 grievances every year. We're currently working on our electronic grievance forms that we're going to apply on the inmate tablets. We're going to be piloting that technology at the beginning of this November. Next slide. This department, the Review and Standards, American Correctional Association, they coordinate ACA standards and provide technical assistance to wardens for over 600 standards. We also facilitate mock panel hearings in preparation for our conferences. And one thing I would like to note is back in 2014, our agency was presented the ACA highest honor, the Golden Eagle Award. It goes to criminal justice agencies that have achieved accreditation in all facilities and all departments. It's not only the units, it's also facilities, ag operations, our parole division, our training division, as well as our center office. The risk-based review department functions as auditors for our leadership. We focus on risk and compliance. And in 2025, the department completed 21 reviews, and in 2026, 16 at this point. We have a team of 128 unit risk managers who perform a multitude of inspections. They work closely with the State Fire Marshal's Office, the State Office of Risk Management, and one thing I would like to highlight on this slide is our heat strike mitigation efforts. We have a team of 66 employees that ensure that the agency is in compliance with our heat mitigation efforts. In 2025, we made 191 visits unannounced to all our facilities, and some facilities multiple times. This year in 2026, we're going to exceed that, and today we're at 162. And it's a lot of work, but we take everything in our division extremely serious. Our Safe Prisons Office, they monitors extortion cases, violence, and threats of violence for compliance with PREA standards, and we work real closely with our PREA Ombudsman Office to ensure that we're meeting those standards. And the last office is the Office of Disciplinary Coordination. That office was transitioned to the Armed Division from the Classification and Transportation Division. It's better aligned with our mission with monitoring and monitoring for compliance. So it was moved, and at this point, we've only done 12 audits. With that being said, that was my last department. I'll stand for any questions you may have.
Well, thank you, Mr. Dunbar. Any questions from any board members, comments?
A quick observation. This is the first time I'm seeing these statistics on inmate disciplinary cases. So can we go back to that slide real quick?
Yes.
I mean, this is, I don't want to lose this point because it's pretty significant. If I'm reading this chart right, if we can keep going back, there's a bar chart. It It's entitled Counsel Substitute Inmate Disciplinary Cases. Yeah, keep going back. There you go. So, so this reflects fiscal year over fiscal year. Of course, fiscal year 2026 is ending here at the end of this month, right? Yes, sir. So we're pretty close to the end of the year. So if I'm reading this right, we had almost 121,000 inmate disciplinary cases. Is that opened? Is that cases that are opened or administered in fiscal year 2025? I'm just looking year over year.
Yeah. In 2025, they're closed. We may have a few in 2026 that are open, but for the most part, we're closing them.
So year over year, if you look at these numbers, you go from 121 basically to 105, which looks to me like, just doing some quick math, is like almost like a 13%, a little over 13% reduction in inmate disciplinary cases. So can you help us? Is there any reason why you think that kind of decline might be happening?
Yes, sir, I do. I think a lot of it has to do with all the strategies and efforts and technology as well that we have in place for de-escalation, training the staff at the facilities, not only just the security officers, but the maintenance staff, the rehabilitation staff, the facility staff, on how to de-escalate situations as they involve and deal with inmates day to day.
And I'd like to turn over to Mr. Lumpkin too, because I'd like to maybe put this in the context of how we're empowering our frontline correctional staff to deal with situations that might otherwise lead to a disciplinary case.
No, absolutely. So, as Mr. Dunbar mentions, de-escalation, and a lot of that goes into the training that is provided by TLDD, our training division, as well as the CID, Correctional Institutions Division. You mentioned earlier the body cams also have shown a de-escalation, and tasers in a way of show of force. Yes, we have taser events, but moreover, the show of force that has shown a decrease. And I also want to mention that this is one of the increased capacity too.
Sure.
So
Yes.
we've grown over the past year and still seen a decrease in the disciplinary cases. I just want to clarify, Mr. Dunbar, the blue and the gray, is that minor versus major?
Yes, sir.
Disciplinaries?
The blue is minor and the gray is major.
Okay, yep, so as you see on your chart, the blue is minor disciplinaries that can be held by a mid-level supervisor. The hearing can with minor punishments. The gray is major, depending on the magnitude of the offense. That is actually the counsel sub-process or due process before a major penalty is.
So this is 13% reduction in the minor cases then year over year, fiscal year, and then about a 10%, a little bit more than 10% decrease in major disciplinary cases. And when we say disciplinary cases, this is where someone's getting written up, right?
Yes, yes,
And
correct.
so to my question is part of what's going on here is that frontline correctional staff are being empowered to resolve issues that may arise between members of our population or between a member of the population and staff, short of actually having to write that case up.
Exactly, beyond de-escalation, trying to informally resolve a particular incident. And our correctional staff have the ability to do that. Certainly, there are certain offenses that rise to a higher level, but they do have the training and ability to informally resolve a situation. I do want to add that early on, right now, it's not anything we've developed yet, but we are looking at our disciplinary process and how we do address minor infractions. I know Mr. Clark, Mr. Guerrero have had early discussions, something we've seen in other states on how we handle a minor infraction versus automatically writing a disciplinary after informal resolution has failed. Hopefully we'll see some more work later on this year on that.
Yes.
And I think I speak for all the board members where when we go to units, we actually see that empowerment being carried out. In other words, we see situations where our valued frontline correctional staff are taking ownership of situations and trying, as you said, Mr. Lumpkin, if certain aspects need to be written up, but things that don't need to be written up may be able to be resolved informally in the way that you described. So we actually get to see that, and but I didn't realize that what I was seeing on individual units was actually resulting in numbers like this. That's pretty impressive.
A lot of great work going on with the men and women in the trenches to make this impact, and with our population also in changes in behavior as well.
And then, Mr. Dunbar, on the grievance side, if you could just kind of give a quick overview, because, I mean, everybody hears about the grievance process, but kind of how that grievance process works and how your division oversees that grievance process fully to resolution of those grievances.
Yes, sir. On the facilities, like I said earlier, we have staff that's there to talk directly to the offenders about what they're grieving. We work with them close to try to resolve any issues at the lowest level that we can. We are currently trying to improve that. We have some things in place. We hadn't pulled it out yet to put that information out on tablets so they can quickly get to us and we can respond quickly. We work really close with the unit administration to resolve those issues. A lot of times it's our staff working with the unit administration to resolve those concerns and take care of those grievances and knock them out by that way. We work not only with security staff, we work with the maintenance staff if there's issues. We'll work with the rehabilitation staff if there's issues. We'll work with any department that's on the unit regarding any of those grievances.
And I think Mr. Garza and I were in the office, the ARM office, not too long ago. And we also saw that there have been efforts to automate and digitize some of that work process on grievances as well. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. We're going to roll out our first pilot at the Wind Unit in November of this year.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Garza.
Thank you. One more thing to highlight, I think, would be one slide before that one. Those numbers right there, if you can explain that a little bit further, but I'm noticing we doubled the facilitating of these court hearings and administration hearings. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Oh, yes, sir. In 2025, we've just started out with our virtual court, and it just ballooned. We
Yes.
started doing mainly and primarily focusing on bench warrant inmates, counties, and it evolved to SPU type cases, other states having needs. I didn't realize we had that many inmates in our system that had needs in other states. Immigration court hearings also added to that. So it's just growing and growing and growing. I think it's an extremely profitable process because it saves so many resources for everybody involved, the counties as well as us, TDC, and everybody's seeing the benefit.
Right, so all the transportation, the gas, fuel money that we need to spend on these transports to get them to the court, that's huge. And it goes back to what we're discussing in public comments right now, how important technology is, right? Not only for the educational part, certainly for the operational part in our facilities. So these numbers speak for themselves, and I want to commend you and your staff and everybody who's involved in putting these systems together to provide better equipment for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
And let's also thank our partners at the county level, all those judges.
That's right.
And all those courts out there that have adapted to the use of technology and are willing to participate in these programs. Because if we don't have judges, and I see Judge Johnson nodding down there, if we don't have judges who are willing to use this technology rather than doing the old school bench warrant and having somebody transported across the state for a court hearing, we can't make this program operate. So a shout out to the county partners who are making that leap, and a request that others who haven't tried it, give it a try. You might like it.
Yes.
And Mr. Chairman, that was one of my comments. I was concerned or wanted to know, do we have certain counties that we might need to do a little more PR with, or talk to them about jumping on board and helping us in this process of virtual hearings? I don't know if we have any particular counties that you either have me or Mr. Garza or Eric go out and talk to those judges or talk to those counties to try to get them on board?
We don't want to shame anybody publicly, so,
Okay.
but I think what Judge Johnson is saying is that you've got some allies up here. If you need some ambassadors,
Right,
So,
we're
right,
here.
Judge Johnson, my truck has got a lot of mileage, it'll get more mileage. So you put me on the road, I'll go talk to whoever you want me to talk to.
And
Yes,
that's
sir.
what I'm saying. I'm not, I don't want you to start, you notice how he hesitated. He thought he had to blast, put some people on blast. But what I'm just really saying to you, I know, because I think I've had some conversations about some counties that we need to,
Yes,
at least some of those judges that we need to talk to. And we're willing to do that.
Well, yes,
And I
ma'am.
know a lot of the judges throughout the state, and Eric too, and Mr. Garza being over this particular committee, let us do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
So make a list of those counties and those judges, and we'll make that happen.
Yes, ma'am, I will certainly do that.
And also, I wanted to let you know, this was a great presentation. Thank you so much. It
Thank
looked like you put a lot into it, and I just, I'm just impressed. And thank you for the work that you and your team, because I know you're not doing it by yourself. You got a whole team that's helping you with this particular area, so we really do appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I would add on the virtual court, so just to that, to your point, Judge Johnson, and absolutely take all the support, and we can get in urging, spreading the word. A lot of judges in Texas, so we do come across judges who have not heard of it, so we continue to market. We also take opportunities to attend the sheriff's conference and share at the sheriff's conference with sheriffs, so that they could also spread it, the word. And of course, discussions we've had with other county officials to spread that message in marketing of that opportunity, because to the point of the chairman, a bench warrant for somebody going back to the county for a 10-minute hearing that needs to be held, absolutely, but that could be done on a facility with no hesitation, that is supported by us, saves taxpayer money, and saves putting our staff at risk, and just the time of breaking up an individual's routine that they've come accustomed to inside our facility, take them out of their job for a few days, take them out of their assigned housing area, that we can do that on a facility.
Because I had a couple of lawyers talk to me about that virtual, and they were concerned about whether or not when we do, when we do take a client, take a defendant out of his cell, I mean, are we packing up all of his clothing and all his belongings just to go to that
Right.
hearing?
So his property is secured. He gets to take he or she gets to take certain items with him. We do reserve their cell until they return, but after so many days, if they're out at the county, we do have to use that housing assignment. So it is a break in their routine that they've become used to in daily living, so it's a win.
Yeah.
And just two other thoughts too, so it's taken an individual member of the population out of that routine that we're talking about. You mentioned employment, but it's also programming, right? Because there's certain type of programming that requires certain number of hours, certain number of days, and to have that disrupted is disruptive to that individual.
Yes.
And then just to add to what you said also, Mr. Lumpkin, I know that we all know it, but it's important to say it out loud, that if a county, in certain instances, a county may send personnel to go pick up a member of the population at a unit to take back to the county. Other times, the department has to transport, and if the department has to transport, that requires how many officers?
3.
It requires 3 officers, so we're taking 3 officers out of our people force.
That's it.
Just for that particular, so you can tell, Mr. Dunbar, there's a lot of support
Yes, sir.
behind this program, and so as Judge Johnson was saying, please, and Mr. Garza was saying, please take advantage of us as supporters of this program.
And really, look, we're not just talking, we really want to know how we can support it. So call me next week and I will, in fact, I have a light week next week. So I'm willing to get on the road next week to help you, advertise and talk to whoever I need to talk to make certain that this program continue to expand.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Dunbar. Any other questions or comments?
Just one more, if I could. go back to the use of technology and the advancements that we're making there, or that you discussed, related to inmate grievances and, let's see, I think a couple of slides to the right, yeah. And the number going down there. Now, this is just a guess, and maybe a question that doesn't even need to be asked, but once that process goes to the tablet, do we foresee those going up?
Well, I would hope not.
Yes, likewise, likewise.
There's some risk. We do have, we will be giving them the ability to grieve instantly. And, but what we are seeing with de-escalation, maybe we won't have that. So something we're gonna have to put in place and kind of monitor it just to see how it evolves.
Certainly good to do and move forward with. But along with that, I was thinking of as well the inmate disciplinary cases. So is that being moved also with the changes that Mr. Lumpkin addressed? Is that also being moved in a technology based there, a digital thing for our officers to be able to do as needed?
At this point with the officers, I think, yes, we are, but we're currently, we're doing a lot of things. We got a lot of moving parts with technology. So yes, the short answer is yes. We do a lot of beta testing internally within our division to see where we can move forward with certain things. But the short answer is yes. We run into some hurdles here and there, but we won't give up.
So I guess my thought was enable our inmates to do something digitally as well. Let's enable our
officers as well. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Pastor Springfield, that is a vision to automize some of the officer duties to include disciplinary infraction reports.
Thank you for continuing the virtual court initiative. I know that Judge Francis would be so proud. As we all know, it was her hard work and ideas, and you guys jumped in to really support it. And I love to see the growth here on how we're reaching more, not only counties, but states, and I think federal as well, is what you said.
Yes,
so
yes, ma'am.
It's been a really amazing program to watch grow, and kind of a win-win for everybody. So thank you for doing that.
Any other comments?
One other thing
Yes,
I
sir.
do want to just mention, to go back to the heat strike teams, because I don't want to lose opportunity. I've testified to this, shared this, but to Mr. Dunbar's point of the heat strike, if you notice in the slide, and he mentioned these are unannounced visits. When we say unannounced, I have no knowledge of where the teams are going. The wardens do not know. Mr. Guerrero and the deputies do not know. They are truly unannounced visits to check our heat mitigation practices for everything we say that we're doing, that they go out and check that we are actually doing that. It is hot. We're in the middle of August right now. We're at our hottest point right now. And for the work they do to go out to ensure that the divisions, CID, MAL, facilities, and many others that are carrying out that every day. And so, again, truly thank you to Marvin and his team, but with that, just want to emphasize that it is truly an unannounced system, and they, again, just like with Ms. Russell, have absolute access to anywhere 24/7 that they want to go inside the agency.
And so, are they checking things like ice getting into coolers to go to housing areas?
Yes, sir. Ice, cool down showers, respite, all medication practices, working fans, all of the above.
And also making sure that those who require respite in air-conditioned areas are getting that respite?
Yes. Yep. To the best of the operations and good correctional judgment that we are making that happen.
Okay.
To include interviewing offenders as well to see if those operations are actually happening.
That was what I was really trying to get to, is the fact that they're not just taking people's word for it, that are working in the unit leadership. Of course, we know our unit leadership, and I've testified to this too.
Yes.
Unit leadership are fully committed to heat mitigation, but the point is they're not just taking the word of unit leadership for it, are they?
Correct.
They're actually doing their own form of review
Yes, sir.
of those practices. So, and there's certain objective criteria they can check too, like where are you storing your ice? How much ice do you have stored? Are people getting fans that they need to get? You know, how are we doing on the different areas that aren't air conditioned, and what we're doing within those areas? Are we allowing the use of different clothing during the hot time?
And include the signage.
And
sign up for signs of illness and how to mitigate heat too physically.
right, and also making sure that our monitoring of indoor temperatures in those unair-conditioned housing areas are being done
Yes, sir.
as well. Okay. Thank you. That was a good point.
Anything else, Mr. Dunbar?
No, sir.
Thank you for the overview. We appreciate the information and the update. Thank you for your hard work and your leadership, sir. I also want to thank the rest of the board members for the comments and the dialogue. I think the information that we discuss here is very useful for the department, so I hope you take those comments back to your department and anything we can do to help you
Yes,
and your
sir.
department, sir.
All
We
right, thank you.
appreciate you. No action needed for this item, and being that there is no further business, the Texas Board of Criminal Justice Audit and Review Committee is now adjourned. It is 3:59 p.m. Thank you.
The meeting of the Texas Board of Criminal Justice Community Corrections Committee is called to order in accordance with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, the Open Meeting Act. A quorum of the committee is present, and the meeting is now declared open. It is 4 p.m. on August the 27th, 2026. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Are there any amendments or objection to the proposed minutes as presented? Hearing none, the minutes as presented on the agenda will stand approved. The next, we have an overview of the Community Justice Assistance Division, and this will be presented by CJAD Director Carrie Green, and Ms. Green is now approaching the podium. And I think you are ready, Ms. Green, if you will proceed. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you, Judge Johnson, Chairman Nichols, Mr. Lumpkin, members of the Community Corrections Committee, and also members of the board. My name is Carrie Green. I am the Division Director of the Community Justice Assistance Division. It's a mouthful, but basically adult probation. So it's really my honor to present to you this afternoon and provide an overview of our functions within the agency. This flow chart actually shows how the supervision functions of the system link together. And our judges, besides being able to divert people out of the system or place people under pretrial supervision, diversion programs in the community, they have the ability to directly sentence individuals to the prison system or to place them under supervision for probation. And so there are three ways to enter our prison system. You can enter by a direct sentence from the judiciary, by parole revocations, or also by probation revocations. And our probation revocations represent about 17% of our prison receives in any given year. Additionally, the judiciary then is responsible for appointing the probation directors, Community Supervision and Corrections Department directors. They appoint the directors, they appoint their fiscal officers, and then they're responsible for reviewing the department's budgets. Other than that, the rest of the oversight falls under TBCJ CJAD, our division, and the functions that we have within the agency. So there is some judicial oversight of the probation departments, but primarily they're responsible for appointing the director, for establishing the departments, and then they can remove a director if a director isn't doing what they need to do, right? So the probation departments, we have 120 of them in the state right now, with approximately 6,000 staff and about 2,800 officers. We also have our Judicial Advisory Council. That body reports out to this board, and you're familiar with Rebecca Palomo. Judge Palomo is a district court judge out of the 341st District Court, And actually, the Chief Justice of the Texas Supreme Court and the presiding judge of the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals just recently appointed her as chairwoman of our JAC. So we're very excited about that appointment. I think she's
Working with the Judicial Advisory Council now, it's been a number of years, I believe.
Yes, it's been over 10 years, and a lot of people are not aware, but Judge Palomo was actually a probation director before she became a judge. So she was a probation director down in Webb County, so she really understands the administrative and operational aspects of the probation departments besides the judicial responsibilities. So we are very excited that she'll be in that position. Okay. Funding for the probation departments is a little bit different than what people, I think, assume it would be. And that's because a lot of times adult probation and juvenile probation will get confused. On juvenile probation, the counties provide a lot of funding to local juvenile departments. But on the adult side, counties only provide facilities, utilities, and equipment. That's all they have to provide by statute. So other than that, all of their funding comes from the state or it comes from offender supervision fees. By Texas Government Code Chapter 76, the judges can order probationers to pay not less than $25, not more than $60 per month in supervision fees. And so those supervision fees go directly into the budgets of the probation departments, and then they use that in order to make their budgets. So the state average distribution for state aid and then probation fees is 74% state aid and 26% probation fees. Typically, I would say probably for about 8 to 10 years, the split really was 60-40. But we've had a large infusion of funding by the Texas legislature, and a lot of that is because of the support of this board. And because of that, now we have more state funding that is going into the probation departments. So they still rely heavily on probation fees, but not as heavily as they have in the past. We have some departments, if they receive a lot more grant funding, then of course that distribution is going to be a little bit different. So in Bexar County, for example, 80% of their funding comes from state aid, 20% comes from supervision fees. In Harris County, it's 82 and 18. In Dallas, it's like 82. I think it's 82 and 18 as well. But then you have like smaller departments like Moore County. They have like 46% of their funding is state aid, and 54% comes from local offender fees. So you can imagine whenever there is any disruption to our economy, or if there is a local, fire, flood, COVID, that definitely impacts the amount of supervision fees that will come into the departments, and then that'll impact their bottom line. So it is something that we work on. One thing I just wanted to point out, you'll notice that one slice of the pie is pulled out just a little bit. A lot of people are not aware that the probation departments actually fall under TCDRS, which is the Texas County and District Retirement System. However, they qualify and they are provided state health insurance. And so that funding is directly given to the Texas Employee Retirement System. It does not go to the probation departments. It used to, a long time ago, but we were able to make some statutory changes, so now it goes to ERS. And so the probation departments benefit from that funding as well, and we never want to lose sight of it, because that is still state money that the departments are able to, provide to their employees, so their employees can have state insurance across the board. And then also when they retire, they're able to access state insurance. So that's a huge benefit for the departments. At CJAD, with our division, we use a lot of information in order to fund programs, especially in our grant lines. So, whether we're reducing programs, we're closing programs, we may be increasing programs, whatever it may be. We're the repository for information that's collected from the probation department, so they have local case management systems. where their information then is uploaded into our system, our community supervision tracking system, and then that goes into the statewide system, the criminal justice information system. We also do a number of different monitoring and evaluation audits on the probation departments. Lately, we have been focusing on data accuracy, and it's been very helpful because we've worked on our data manual. In conjunction with the probation departments, we had a committee that went, page by page, of this like 70-page document. But what we found when we were doing these data accuracy audits is that we weren't always on the same page. Our interpretation of a data element might be different than the department's interpretation of the data element. And we really wanted to be sure that the information that they had locally was being put into the system the correct way, so that when we're using all of that information to make funding decisions, and then also to provide information to our stakeholders and to the legislature, that we have accurate information. So initially, the departments weren't really excited, I will say, about the data accuracy audits, but now they've embraced them a lot more. In addition to data accuracy, though, whenever we go to a department, we're always checking to make sure that that person is legally on probation, because we will not provide funding for a probation department unless a person is legally on probation. So it's really important that we're always doing that, and then we're always checking too to make sure that they're doing internal audits within their own departments to follow up on their cases and to make sure that operationally they're as sound as possible. Also, we have a number of different things that we look at financially within the probation departments. We do budget monitoring, of course. We receive, on average, more than 1,000 initial budgets and budget adjustments per year that we're monitoring with the probation departments. In addition to that, we receive more than 3,000 quarterly financial reports from the probation departments. And again, monitoring those and checking to make sure that they're spending the funding and that the funding is also reflective of the number of people that they're serving within the department or within that particular program. We did start a new process with the independent audit reports, because some of our really small jurisdictions were spending so much money contracting with an independent CPA in order to do these independent audit reports. They were actually spending all of their basic state aid just to contract for a CPA for annual reports. So what we did is we started an exemption process, and the way that you can qualify for an exemption is a department has to receive less than $1 million in state aid. They also have to have no findings in a previous independent audit report, and then they can't receive an exemption 2 years in a row. So they'll have to do it at least every other year. So for fiscal year 26, we had 31 departments that qualified for an exemption, and we had 29 that accepted. So we do have some departments that are like, thank you, but no. Great that we qualified for the exemption, but we're still going to contract and go ahead and get an independent audit report. And that could be just because of the philosophy of the chief, or it could also be that the judges are more comfortable if they have that independent audit report on hand. Additionally, we work with the departments very closely on strategic planning, and then we monitor, again, through those quarterly financial reports, we're monitoring their expenditures so that we can de-obligate funding from the probation departments that are not fully utilizing their state funding, and then we'll re-obligate it to departments where they may have wait lists or they have shortfalls in the funding that they've been provided by the state. So we'll do that on a continuous basis. When we look at programs within the probation departments, that's where you start to see some similarities between community supervision, like the parole division. So we have specialized caseloads for sex offenders, also for individuals who use different types of substances. We have electronic monitoring caseloads and a number of different things. Some jurisdictions will have things that are very specific to their area. In Bell County, for example, they have a veterans caseload, but that doesn't make sense for us to have a veterans caseload in all of our departments, right? So we'll make sure that we have those specialties in areas where they have a need for that population. We also have gang and youthful offender caseloads, like in our larger jurisdictions in Houston and Dallas, again, so that they can make sure that they're meeting the needs of their local communities. And one initiative we're very proud of, we work very closely with the Rehabilitation and Reentry Division and the Texas Correctional Office on Offenders with Medical or Mental Impairments, or TCOME, and that's our mental health initiative. So we fund officers on the probation side, and then TCOME funds the LMHAs, the local mental health authorities, on their side. And then we have requirements that they have to work together and they have to collaborate, have communication, so that we can ensure that an individual is being supervised but also treated as a whole person, right? And that we're not doing these things independently. So that's one of the things. I know that many departments will come in and they'll be like, I really want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that. And it's because it really is a great initiative. One of the things with all of these programs that officers have to do, and that is to balance risk management and risk reduction. So risk management is really about monitoring, supervision, holding people accountable. It's controlling behavior. Whereas risk reduction is about engaging individuals, engaging in behavior, engaging in their treatment and their thought processes in order to stop future crimes. And, you know, I was actually thinking about this slide, and it made me recall this one story. When I was an officer, I was actually a parole officer with the agency, and I piloted the first cognitive behavioral program in Texas back in the day. And when I was doing this, you know, it was one of those things that I thought, oh my gosh, this is so great. Well, I also had a specialized caseload. At that time, I had an intensive supervision program caseload. So I had the highest risk individuals who were on my caseload, and I'm facilitating these groups in the evening. And so this one day, had home visits. Oh, and here was the other kicker. Either you, when you came out of prison, you could either be on my caseload or you had to go on a monitor. So you can imagine how popular I was, right? So, okay, monitor or going on Carrie's caseload. So I have these people reporting to me, and there's this one day in particular, I have a home visit with this individual. We'll call him Lewis. But I had a home visit between 2 and 3. And I call him that morning and I say, hey, you know what, I'm running behind schedule because I'm covering for some officers today, so I'm duty officer this morning. And I need for you to stay at your house longer. I may not be there until 4, so I need for you to stay between 3 and 4. He does not have a job. He's been out of prison probably about 2.5 months. And he says, well, what is a duty officer? And so I explain, a duty officer is someone who covers responsibilities for other people who are not in the office. And he said, well, how come you have to stay? How come somebody else can't stay? And I said, well, you know, I've got, you know, we have this many officers, and I'm one of the people who was designated to stay, and I go through this. And he said, well, is there anyone you can see before, you know, maybe you can go see someone else, you know, before me? He's asking me all these questions, and all I can think is, you're not even working. Can't you just stay home and wait for me to get there, right? You know, I mean, why are you asking me all these questions? I've got people to see. I have things I need to do, and, you know, it kind of, you know, stuck in my mind, you know, for the rest of the afternoon. So I get there, and I still remember this part very clearly. He, you know, meets me like halfway down the driveway. Halfway down the sidewalk. I meet him down the sidewalk. And we talked for a minute and everything, and I go inside, come back out, and then I say, you know, I have to ask you a question before I leave. I said, why, when we were on the phone earlier, because you know, you're not working, you know, I know you don't have anywhere else you need to be. Why were you asking me all those questions? And he looked at me like I had grown another eye out of my head, you know, like, God, what is wrong with you? And he said, Miss Bradford, my maiden name at the time, Miss Bradford, isn't that what we just talked about in our class like 2 nights ago? We talked about asking questions and getting information, so we had all the information and we didn't jump to conclusions. And I'm like, yeah, we did. And I'm the facilitator. I'm the facilitator of the class. And I'm his officer. And I'm questioning him why he's doing the things I'm teaching him to do in our class. And so it really goes to show that it's not just about putting people into programs, but it's also about making sure that everybody who comes in contact with those individuals know what those programs are about, right? I mean, if we truly want to reduce risk, we have to, and we're talking about changing behavior, then that has to be supported on all levels, you know? And so that was a real aha moment for me. And, you know, and I'm always grateful for that because, you know, I'm just like, oh, why are you, I'm getting frustrated. So then it's like, imagine that this guy has a violation and I take him in for a meeting with my supervisor and my supervisor doesn't really know about the program he's in. You know, if he starts to jump down his throat, well, I mean, he's probably going to shut down, right? So, you know, again, just making sure you have that balance between risk reduction and risk management, because with this particular caseload that I supervised at the time, it really was a lot about risk management. And, but because we were doing the pilot, that was a risk reduction piece. You know what? I apologized to him and I said, oh my gosh, you're right. You're right. And, you know, and I apologized and I told him I was proud of him. First of all, I was proud of him for doing what we talked about doing in group, right? And then the other thing was that he gave me an answer. He told me, you know, he didn't just completely shut down because he could very easily could have done that. So, yes, ma'am. Well, not at the beginning when I'm like ready to jump down his throat, but this chart basically shows how we are trying to cover substance use treatment across the state. So we have our treatment alternative to incarceration program. That's our funding line. It's about $11 million. You can see that we have the administrative departments that are in yellow, and then we have 88 additional departments, counties that are actually served by that funding. So we have a number of regional programs within our TAP, and that way we can leverage more resources across the state. So we may have traveling counselors that go to various counties or different departments as part of their jobs, and then we have dedicated counselors in some of our larger and medium-sized jurisdictions that is covered with this funding. Additionally, probation has 25 community corrections facilities, and I know that that's not just commonly known, but we have 2,369 beds in the community for our probationers. About 70% of those beds are male beds, another 30% are female beds. And we have 4 different modalities. We have court residential treatment centers, we have substance abuse treatment facilities, and then we have intermediate sanction facilities, and then we also have our DDRFs, which are dually diagnosed treatment facilities. So, you know, that will treat like co-occurring disorders, individuals with co-occurring disorders. So really, these are sentencing options for our judiciary. They can be used as a direct sentencing option, or they can also be used as a sanction if someone is really struggling under supervision. One thing I just wanted to highlight are some of the modernization processes that we are doing at CJAD. We actually formed a workflow improvement and technology team as a way for us to just improve our workflow processes and really try to get individuals that have very different perspectives about what we do and how we do our job at our division. We're looking for inefficiencies, anything that we're doing that's repetitive, manual processes that we may be able to automate. You know, we really want to find more opportunities to better use the data that we have. So really, it's how can we be more efficient with just our day-to-day operations. As part of the team, our team goals, you know, again, you know, we're trying to look at, you know, how we can really use data and how we can just streamline a lot of our processes. One of the things, I'm going to recognize my deputies at the end of this presentation, but one of them, Kevin Johnson, is he back there? When he first started working on this, he sent out an email to our staff, and I love the 3 questions that he asked them if they wanted to be a part of this team. He said, first, are you curious? You know, why do we do it this way? I mean, ask the question, why do we do it this way? Does it make sense that we do it this way? The other question was, are you annoyed by inefficiencies? if you're annoyed by inefficiencies, then this team is probably going to be for you. And then the last one was, are you open to change? Because, we have always done it that way. That has never been something that we do at this division. And, we take it as everyone's responsibility within the division to make sure that all our policies and procedures are updated and that we are trying to be more efficient with the resources that we have. So it's been really exciting to get this team together for them to identify additional processes that we can improve across our workflow. Additionally, just some other support initiatives for the field. We've been working in tandem with the departments to try to streamline processes and to reduce or eliminate errors that we could have. For example, we have a budget and quarterly financial report website. Used to, the probation departments would email, sometimes snail mail, their budgets, quarterly financial reports. They're entering them in their system, they're printing them out, then they're sending them to us, and then we enter them again in our system, and then we print them out, and somebody signs it, and then we send it back to them, scan it. So we just stopped all that. Now when you say it, that was the process, but now when you say it, it kind of sounds absurd, right? But we did it. We haven't done that now for a number of years, but that was one of the first things that we changed. We also automated our grant application process for the probation department, so all of that is online. And we went from scoring out some of our grant proposals. We actually would almost shut down the division for like 3 months just to score out grant proposals. And now our budget section can score out the grant proposals generally within 2 weeks. So it's made just a huge difference in how we're using our resources and our staff. And so additionally, we have recently launched a statewide contract website. And we've had more than 1,000 contracts or contract renewals that have been entered by the local probation departments. So again, it'll be easier for us to monitor those. And then we are, I'm going to go back one slide. Oh, thank you. And then we are also changing our current file transfer protocol software with the probation departments, and we are designing a web-based file repository because our FTP really is outdated. We've had that in place since 2001, and we've had some issues with it, with departments just being able to access it, because that's one thing with external stakeholders. With 120 external stakeholders, you have some departments that are linked to the county, and so they're under the county IT system, or they may have their own IT. So they're really, it's varied and just very different across the board. And so with this web-based file repository, not only is it newer technology, but it also is more secure. The departments won't have to download and then maintain our FTP software, so that's a plus. And then our staff will also be able to manage and support it more easily. So I know the field is very excited that we're going to be making this change. And then finally, just again looking at technology, we really try to find a way to use our data proactively. In our division, we are constantly looking at how we're making decisions and then making sure that we make those decisions based on evidence. So evidence-based decision-making is very important to us, and just making sure that, again, we are monitoring our grants, our special grant conditions, and all of the requirements by the probation departments by looking at trends with the data to see if we're seeing, any issues or problems. If someone has 100% completion rate with a program, that's actually a problem. It sounds great, but not everything's 100% completion. So, that would be a red flag that we need to go in and look at it. So it's just good for us to look at. And then some of our upcoming operational priorities on the program side is we work very closely with the probation departments, again, because of decentralized nature of the probation departments. We have a number of different committees and work groups, and we're looking at safety protocols, again, because it's extremely diverse across the state. We have about 40 departments that carry firearms. The rest of the departments don't. And so then you can imagine that a lot of the training for departments that don't carry or the departments that do carry can be very different. And so also, we're working with the field to identify some basic safety protocols that we want to be sure that all departments are employing. And it's been really great to work with the agency and the Training and Leader Development Division in order to look at their safety curriculum and how they can help the probation departments as well. Specialized assessments such as our DWI assessments, and then also some of our women's assessments. That's in addition to our traditional TRAS, the Texas Risk Assessment System. And then we have a mentoring project we're doing with the probation departments where new chiefs, as they are appointed by the judges, then they are linked with a chief who has experience in a similar size department. And those chiefs actually are vetted as well. And then at CJAD, we help to monitor that process and help the departments whenever they have their new mentor. And then finally, one of the things I'm really excited about, and that is our peer support specialists in probation. We are piloting a number of different things. We have some peer support specialists who have been hired by the probation department. We have some departments that are looking at contracting for services. We have some departments who have services provided by local entities. But, you know, this really is a way for us to help close the gap. You know, because if you've ever heard the saying, walk a mile in my shoes, that's essentially, the premise of peer support specialists, because they can give individuals what I as an officer cannot give them, and that's another person who has actually lived through that experience. And a lot of research has really shown that people who have either substance use addictions, dependencies, or behavioral health issues, about 90% of people, they're not going to ask for help. Doesn't mean they don't want it. They do want it, but they're not going to ask for it. And so they really can help bridge that gap and can help bring people to recovery. So I'm very excited to take many of the things that we've learned from the prison system, and again from our Rehabilitation and Programs Division, and then start to use that within the community. So the adult probation system, it's a big kind of unknown animal, I think, sometimes, and you start, again, you look at funding or insurance or retirement, how do they fall under different things? I've had judges call me before and say, that person works for you. And I'm thinking, Judge, I'm so happy that person does not work directly for me, but you have a lot of decision makers in the front end of the system, because you look at the number of courts that we have, you look at the number of prosecutors, also defense attorneys, how our state has a lot of plea bargains. And so it really takes a lot of different stakeholders and players to make this part of the system productive. I did want to make sure and to acknowledge two deputies that I have in the room. I'm going to ask them to stand. I know Kevin waved earlier, but Kevin Johnson and Sherelle Johnson are my two deputies. No, I hired Sherelle. Kevin was already there, and I hired her, and as I'm filling out the paperwork, I'm like, Johnson and Johnson. I didn't even think about it when I hired them. But they do a lot of this work that I'm talking about. Just really phenomenal. I have incredible staff at our division. I put them up against anybody. We're very passionate about what we do, because we know if we can keep people in the community, especially if we can keep them out of the prison system, that we really can change lives and can really change a familial structure if we're able to do that. So I just wanted to express my appreciation to the two of them, but also to all of the staff that we have back in Austin. And that's all I have. I'll stand here for any questions.
Awesome. That's a great presentation. Thank you so much. You got two Johnsons out there, and then you have a Johnson up here. How about that?
I know.
I wanted to know, because I know we judges back in our various counties are always claiming our probation officers. And I always wonder, CJAD, pretty much, we're funding probation, but yes, you got the judges who say, no, they belong to me, and I tell them what to do, and I don't care about CJAD. Now, that doesn't happen everywhere, but it happened in a few places. How do we do that? How do you effectively make all of this come together and work? And you do a great job at it. How do you do that when you got the funding over here, but you got the judges saying, but we supervise them, and they belong to us? How do you do it, Carrie? Tell us.
Well, you're making it sound like I have some kind of magic potion, and I definitely don't have that, Judge Johnson. But, really, it's about communication, collaboration and communication, and a matter of working together. And so, when the judges will call me, and when I've had an opportunity to go meet with them, we'll even talk about responsibilities, because there are some judges who want to get into the day-to-day activities of a probation department, and if they do that, they're actually compromising their judicial immunity.
Right, exactly.
And we've had some judges sued in their personal capacity in Tarrant County. And so, once you really start to explain that and also show them in the code what their responsibilities are, then I think many times they're ready to say, okay, well then what can I do? I thought I could do this over here. Okay, then tell me what can I do? And then we'll talk through, various options. Part of the reason that it does take us a while to make things happen sometimes in our part of the system is because we do a lot of committee and work group activity with the probation departments, and we've brought in other external stakeholders as well. I'm a firm believer that if you do this much planning and you do this much implementation, your revisions are going to look like this. And then what happens is whenever we bring something out, and if I have a lot of naysayers, I can say, yeah, but these people all worked on it. And then even as we're working on it, I make sure everybody in the field knows that these people are working on it. As part of that, even when I first assumed this position, I can't believe it's been almost 17 years ago, but we started doing virtual meetings at that time with our judicial regions. And so I have what's called Coffee with Carrie. Sounds kind of corny, I know, but basically it's just an open dialogue with the chiefs, and they can get on if they want to. They don't have to. We don't record it, and we just talk about what's happening at the state level, what's talking at the local level, and just it can get pretty contentious sometimes, but it's just a good way to have dialogue, because when people don't hear from you, they're going to make things up in their minds, right? They're just going to make up their own stories, and that can happen very quickly with our departments. So it's better that they're getting information from us and that we can have that open dialogue. So, it's really a matter of doing a number of different strategies at the same time, Judge.
You're doing a good job. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
You and I talked about that percentage of monies that we receive from probation fees, and we had to talk about that. And I know I'm guilty of it as a judge, and I will sometimes just quickly waive those probation fees. But those things add up, right?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
And it's going to support what you do. And it was so interesting just this past, or in fact, yesterday, I was taking a plea, and that was one of the requests from the lawyer, is to waive the probation fee and to waive something else, based on the fact that the defendant was indigent. But what's so interesting is that he was indigent a year ago, and we proclaimed that. We decide indigency at the very beginning. But at the time that I took the plea, he really wasn't that indigent, because I swore him in, and on the record he said, well, yeah, I make more money now, and now I make $5,000 a year. $5,000 a month. A year ago, I was only making $1,000. So you and I talked about how do we get judges to help to make that decision at the time of the plea, as opposed to going all the way back and continuing with that notation that he was indigent a year ago, but now he's not indigent, and that way we can get more of these probation fees noted, and we receive them, and hopefully we'll get more money to help you and help everybody else. How about that? So address that for me.
Well, let me just say, I definitely believe in ability to pay.
Right.
And, we've had a number of different bills that have been passed by the legislature that have required judges to even look at ability to pay. And, and it is very important, I think, that you take that step back. But I think it is important to also constantly reassess, as you're saying, is that initial assessment, is it dated? Was it a year ago? How recent is that? So that you can also hold people accountable. Because oftentimes when people pay into the system, then they they have more ownership.
Yes.
You know, in the system, right? But we have seen more judges that have been waiving fees or just having fee reductions. I actually, after we had our conversation, I went back and looked at some of our numbers, and for example, like 10 years ago, we were collecting like $6 million less than we are now, but now we have like 20,000 more people under supervision than we did then. So you would think that the collection rate would be commensurate, but it's not. But I also think, though, that we are trying to, you know, be more respectful and to individualize our collection of fees. Now, as far as the judiciary, first of all, I think it's very important that our probation chiefs are always educating their judiciary on just their overall funding. That doesn't compromise judicial immunity as long as they're not making decisions. You can educate your judges, though. You can talk about how much state funding you received versus local supervision fees, because the fees they collect today help pay payroll tomorrow.
Right.
And so, you know, first of all, you have that education aspect, but then also, like we were saying, you know, Baby Judges School, Texas Center for the Judiciary, I think whenever we have opportunities, you know, very similar to virtual court, that it's just important for people to understand how the system works, because I'm not really sure that they thoroughly understand sometimes how the system works or how the departments are budgeted.
Absolutely. I had a couple more questions I wanted to open up to the board members. Do you all have any questions for Carrie?
It's just always great to hear from you. Great presentation, but I also like it because you can give us a little overall statewide trends in terms of what's going on with our criminal justice system. So in terms of, you know, we hear all the time that we have more diversions of lower level criminal offenses at the county level. So help us with that. Is that something that you're seeing, and is that one of the contributors to the fact that our CSCDs around the state have more, you know, more folks under local supervision? I mean, what are some of the trends that we're seeing in terms of reducing that first pipeline that you talked about, which is kind of the direct sentencing to incarceration in TDCJ?
So we're definitely seeing more people under supervision for pretrial diversion. Pretrial diversion and also pretrial services. And so, you know, and if we can do that and even divert them from, you know, either straight probation, deferred adjudication, direct sentences, you know, it really helps that individual too, because then when you look at employment or housing or, you know, just other obligations, it can make a difference in that person's life. But the probation departments, we now are funding them for pretrial supervision cases. And, you know, we weren't able to do that in the past. We had a limited amount of money, but this last session we received $25 million specifically for pretrial. And that has really helped us because we were able to fund pretrial felony cases at the same level that we fund our regular felony cases. And the same thing with pretrial misdemeanor cases. We fund them at the same level we do regular misdemeanor cases. And so also our pretrial defendants have an opportunity to enter the programs that the probation departments have. So it really can make a big difference. But yes, we're definitely seeing a lot more of them under supervision than what we've ever had before.
And when you say pretrial, just help explain to everybody what that means as opposed to other types of diversion programs.
So a pretrial diversion is going to be, you know, so it's an agreement between that individual and the court, and it is a way to divert them out of the court system. So there are going to be certain conditions that a person has to follow for pretrial supervision. And as long as they follow those conditions, then that case will be dismissed. In many cases, they will go ahead and you know, they'll expunge that case as well. Exactly. So yeah, so it's really a great opportunity to help people, you know, especially if it's their first time, you know, getting into the system.
And I think another way to add on to that is pre-conviction, meaning that you don't get a conviction and you're not on probation at all. So we're working with you before you even get to that level. And if everything goes well, then you never get anything on your record. As Carrie said, it's dismissed, gone, poof, away. It's gone away.
So there's no, what they call in legal terms, there's no adjudication of
No
guilt.
adjudication. Right.
There's no adjudication of guilt, and there's no confession or
Nothing.
or admission of guilt.
Yeah, and there's no trial, there's nothing, there's no plea, so you're not coming before the judge to actually enter a plea and actually placed on probation, because everything is, you've done everything, hopefully up front, you've done it satisfactory, and we say you've done it, you're satisfactory, completed this program, so now there's no case for you to even plead to, go to trial on, and we've dismissed it altogether. The DA's office obviously has to be the one to dismiss it. And we got a lot of programs up in Dallas and Houston, as Carrie said. A lot of these programs are happening in your major cities, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, Houston, and you have less programs in some of the smaller counties. Is that correct, Carrie?
Yes, and I would say too that these pretrial cases, when they come to the probation department, most often they've gone through the court. And then the court is basically approving that person to be on that pretrial. Then you also have district attorneys and county attorneys that will have their own programs.
Right.
You know, that don't even go to the court. So, and there are a lot of different things, you know, I know that they're trying around the state, again, to divert people, you know, from the criminal justice system.
And these tend to be first experiences with the criminal justice system?
Not always.
Typically, but yes, not always. It
Okay.
really depends on the jurisdiction. I know in Harris County, we have, people will they can be on probation and then also get pretrial, and so they'll be on concurrent supervision for probation and pretrial at the same
Well,
time,
I
just
didn't
as
want
an
to get off
example.
on that whole issue, but whether, but I mean, but one segment of the population that is being served by these programs are persons who are having their first
Yes.
experience with the criminal justice system.
Yes.
And hopefully it's their only experience with the criminal justice system, kind of get them on the right track. And then, but I was looking at your map on the, you call it TAP, T-A-I-P?
TAP.
So on that one, I mean, I understand, Judge Johnson, that this is, you know, a lot of these programs are centered in urban areas, but if you look at that map, for example, I mean, you've got some reach in this type of program that goes across all kinds of counties in the state, including some of our rural areas. So it seems like that at least this type of, I know this is not the only diversion program that's out there, but I mean, it looks like we're reaching, you know, segments of all of our population across the state.
Most definitely. You know, Scurry County is an administrative county, and they have a consortium, and I believe that they reach more than 30 counties with that particular program.
And do these, just a technical question, do these departments, like the TAP departments, do they report up through the CSCDs, or are they separate?
Yes, no, there are programs within that probation department, so the funding goes to the probation department, and then they establish the program within the probation department. And then they may contract for services, such as the treatment services, or they could have counselors in-house. We've had a number of departments that have hired counselors in-house because they have found that they have really good communication with those counselors. They can get feedback much more quickly, and our outcomes are better.
And the same thing with the community corrections facilities, just for public education. Are those operated by the CSCDs? Are they operated by the state? Who operated privately?
The probation departments are the ones that operate those CSCDs. Again, they receive grant funding from us, but they could also use other funding, you know, such as their formula funding. We do have well, actually, Dallas used to be a contracted facility, and then they brought it in-house. And then we have some contract services in Harris County, but then also like in Travis County. And so it really varies, the modality varies, but by and large, they're operated by the probation departments.
And are those, so the number of beds you gave us was like 2,300?
A little over 2,300.
So, I mean, is that sufficient in your view, or is there a need to maybe possibly look at expanding that number of beds? I don't mean to open up a whole nother can of worms there.
Well, you know, again, that's going to vary depending on who you talk to, because if you ask Bear or Harris or Lavaca, they're going to say we need more beds because they have wait lists.
Right.
And but by and large, the facilities run about a 90% capacity, but the programs are anywhere from like 4 months to 6 months, so it's a pretty quick turnover.
Got it.
It would be hard for us to hold them to to a higher standard than that simply because of the turnover that they have in the facilities.
Got it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
and
Judge.
Carrie, kind of elaborate a little bit, you and I talked about it, the 25 community correctional facility versus our regular correctional facility. I want to make certain that everybody on the board understand the difference between that, because when they see correctional facility, I want to make certain they know it's not our regular correctional facility.
Right, so they're not prison units. I mean, they are secured facilities, so they are locked down facilities. But if someone walks out the door, we're gonna let them go, we're gonna wave to them, we're gonna go get a warrant, and then we're gonna have the sheriff's department go pick them up. You know, that's gonna be a big difference. I remember one time, I believe it was during Hurricane Harvey, we were transporting some of our defendants out of one of our facilities in Harris County, and got a call, and they were like, well, what do we do with this guy? Are we supposed to go after him? What are we supposed to do? And we were like, nope, just let him go. just let him walk. So they are community-based facilities. We have a number of facilities that have work components, and so they'll go through a phase of treatment at the facility, and then they'll have local jobs that they'll go to, and the facility will take them to those jobs, and they bring them back at the end of the day. And you know, so it really varies depending on the modality of the facility. But again, they are based in the community, and we've closed a number of these facilities, I would say, within the past 15 years. And so the facilities that we have now have really good outcomes. And we do a residential outcome study whenever we do our funding for the probation departments. And so we make sure and hold them accountable for the outcomes within their individual facilities.
Why did we close so many?
Well, we closed, you know, one, for example, that was, they were contracting with the sheriff's department for their facility, which we have one that does that right now in Collin, but they have the treatment component and have everything they need. This particular facility was contracting with the sheriff's department, but they were basically on work crews all day long during the week, and then they would, on Saturdays, they would get 4 hours of treatment. And so it just didn't make sense that we would pay for 4 hours of treatment on a Saturday, but they're just doing work crew stuff all the rest of the week. So we closed that facility. We've closed a couple of facilities because their outcomes were very poor. And so, yeah, a number of different reasons.
Okay. Any other question, Mr. Lumpkin?
Just quickly, just want to thank Carrie for her leadership and Johnson & Johnson.
Johnson and Johnson.
That's right.
And Johnson, absolutely. But also to your team, I know they're watching back in Austin. If you're ever in the building in downtown Austin, they're on the 4th floor. So you have access there too if you want to go see them. But thank you for what you do. I didn't want to let you get away without coffee with Carrie being mentioned. So thank you for mentioning that. But she leads a mighty team and of course, has a very good working relationship, even if it's spirited discussion sometimes with CSCDs across the state and judicial districts. So just thank you, Carrie, for you and your leadership and everything you do for the state of Texas.
Well, thank you. I definitely couldn't do it alone. The only way that I can stand before you is because I have an incredible staff that help me. And then also in the probation departments, we really have just amazing people who work in those departments and dearly love and are passionate about what they do.
Absolutely.
And Carrie, I just wanted to say this was an exceptional presentation, and we do appreciate you, all the work you do. We need to hear from you more often. We need you back here more than every other year, every 3 years. So we're gonna try to work on that and make certain that that happens so that you can really educate the board, educate me about what's going on in your divisions. We so appreciate you. Did we have any other questions? Any other comments? Pastor, Nate, you kind of, you had something you wanted to say?
I've learned a lot. And at
Okay.
this point, you don't want me to start talking. No, it's been a great presentation.
Okay,
Thank you.
great presentation. Thank you so much, not only to you, Carrie, but to your whole team and all that you do. We really do appreciate you. Okay, there being no further business, the Texas Board of Criminal Justice Community Correction Committee is now adjourned, and it is 4:52 p.m. Okay. Is that it, Mr. Chairman?
Convene with the Texas Board of Criminal Justice meeting tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.